What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, Tottenham 2, Bournemouth 2, and we managed to salvage a point from a 2-0 down yesterday, you know. I was there at the game. Atmosphere was just so flat. It really was for the majority of it. Even when we got back into it, there was not really many songs or many chants apart from a half-hearted "Oh, when the Spurs go marching in" with about just after Son had his penalty, and then like a chance came from a chance was like kind of interrupted the chant, and then it just never got going again. So I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely dead yesterday at the stadium. I think it was pretty much probably similar when you were talking about the Man City game. Do you remember you came back from that being like the atmosphere is just so flat? Even when the Spurs with the trumpet at the beginning can't really get going. It was pretty much the same.
And that's something Anne spoke about in his post-match press conference. I guess we'll get into those quotes in a bit, but at the moment, with the season, 10 games to go until the end of the league season, we're so far adrift from anything that we're hoping to achieve. These games, ultimately, it's all about building some sort of good feeling and just about trying to get some sort of performance, because there's nothing really to fight for in the league. So I can understand that the fans, let's be honest, we've been beaten a lot of the season, beaten up by this club, and
just this season.
Yeah, well, especially this season. I think it's especially at home as well. So I can understand the fans, not being up for these kind of games and not really believing in this team right now. And until the team shows something else, it's not going to change.
With where we're at right now, do you think, like, because you're seeing obviously poor application on the pitch for the most part, do you feel that's down to right now? I'll see, because we have got players back, and we all thought, when the players come back, you'd see a lot better performance level, which hasn't really materialised just yet. Maybe it will still come.
I think it's been better than what it was before.
Yeah, but it's still not probably anywhere near to what you were hoping it was going to be.
I didn't expect it to click like straight away.
Like, we're not seeing any of those real attacking patterns of play. We're not seeing anything close to what we've seen at the best of Ange Ball kind of thing.
Not the best, but I think we're seeing a lot more than we were, I think. Yesterday was, look, we're going to the review. So, like, yesterday, a lot of it was self-inflicted. A lot of the problems we were causing ourselves was completely self-inflicted. Bad mistakes, sloppy passing when we're trying to play out the back. We're trying to play through Bournemouth. We're trying to get the ball at the pitch. Romero looks very, very rusty. Like a lot of that. I was watching the highlights before, and I think apart from the goal they scored, I think all of them came from like a really sloppy piece of play, like in a dangerous area, which put us under pressure. And obviously, they also scored from a moment where we were on the attack as well, that first goal. So I think it's a difficult one, because obviously all these players are coming back, but it's also good. It's not going to just click immediately, because a lot of the whole squad has basically been used to playing without them. So now all these players are coming back into the team, and a lot of them are trying to build their fitness. A lot of them they're playing with new players, haven't played too much. For example, when Romero and some of these other players were not in the team before, people like Spence, people like Danso, people like Bergval, they weren't in the team. They weren't even players. So there's you got to build these relationships. That also takes time. It's not going to click straight away. It needs time. That needs time to build as well. And unfortunately, we don't have that time, because the games are running out, the season's running out, and we've got big games coming up. So they've got to get up to speed very, very quickly. But especially with Romero out for 4 months, I didn't expect him to be as sharp as, obviously, don't expect him to be giving the ball away outside of his own box like he was. And that's not just due to rustiness, it's also due to bad decision making, but I'm sure that can change. But I also think in terms of how coordinated the team looked in these different things, that I do think, given time, that can improve. But I'm not sure if we will get the time. That's the thing at the moment.
No, and I don't think he probably deserves the time, to be honest, with what's happened. But you're looking at the starting lineup. Let's start with the starting lineup just before we move on, because I felt it was all wrong from the off. I know he's got one eye on Thursday, which is fair enough, but to go into a game with no creativity at all from midfield as well, I thought it was a weird one with the fullbacks going into the game, because in my opinion, I think the fullbacks that we chose yesterday are the fullbacks that should be starting on Thursday, Spence and Porro. So what do you think he's going to do with the fullbacks on Thursday? In my opinion, I think the fullbacks yesterday should have been a Doggy on the left and Archie Gray on the right.
I think he's going to go maybe what he did in the first leg, maybe Spence and the Doggy. Maybe that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, which I'm not too disappointed at that, but I think we missed Porro's creativity a lot in that first leg out and out. Come on, I think we're going to need it, especially when we're the ones going to be in the ascendancy again.
Yeah, I agree, but Doggy's also a good player. Like, maybe he doesn't want to leave him out as well. I don't know. I think it's a good problem to have that we have three very good fullbacks. In my opinion, I think we've got three good fullbacks who all have a case to make to play on Thursday. But I thought Porro was going to play the first leg, and then he played Spence and the Doggy yesterday, because I think yesterday was more of a game for Spence and the Doggy because of the way Bournemouth play, the transitional nature of their game, the fact that it turned into a bit of a basketball game. I think we could have done with real pace and athleticism on the wings, on the wide areas. So that's why I would have preferred Spence and the Doggy yesterday and Porro on Thursday. Didn't do that. He played Spence and the Doggy on Thursday, Porro yesterday, and I don't know if we got punished for that specific decision, but obviously the first goal, Porro gets caught out of position. I think it's more to do with him personally than the tactics on that one, but I think Porro gets caught out, and maybe if Spence was there, could he have caught up with Kirkes? Maybe, but maybe not as well. Spence obviously got caught out for his goal as well in the same thing. So I don't know. I'm not saying that was a big mistake, but I think the biggest one was the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how you can start a game in the Premier League with those three in midfield.
It was the same midfield that started at Anfield, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's not a midfield that we should be picking if we've got any ambitions to create and to break them down. And in that first half, literally, we could not break them down for love nor money. It looked like we could have been there for 10 years with that midfield in the first half and not break them down. It really was shambolic. You had Bissouma in the middle making mistake after mistake. You had Bentancur, who put in one of his absolutely horrible performances. You get these with Bentancur, don't you? Like, one week he'll perform really well and you're thinking, look, Bentancur's getting back to his best, and then the week after he'll put in a stinker like he did yesterday, which was awful. I thought Sarr actually was probably the best of the three in the first half. I thought he actually kept up some sort of levels, but it was just a mistake-riddled first half, and we could have been 3-0 down within the first 15 minutes. And this is carrying on a theme, because that happened at Ipswich. That could have happened at Ipswich. Could have been 3-0 down in the first 5-10 minutes. We conceded 3 or 4 big chances in the first half against Ipswich. We conceded 4 big chances yesterday in the first half. And against Manchester City last week, we conceded 4 big chances in the first half as well. I mean, what is it with these first half displays? Why can't we get going?
I think they're all different issues. I think against Ipswich, it was a case of I think it was the midfielder breaking through our press, then playing Liam Delap into good areas where he had some efforts on goal. I don't think it was as good chances they had as it was for Bournemouth yesterday. For Man City, it was a case of Doku completely running riot on that left-hand side. And yesterday was a case of Bournemouth pressing us into oblivion and our passing out the back being very, very sloppy and gifting Bournemouth very, very easy chances. And I think obviously it all comes down to how the team coach and the manager and all these different things. I think we're still juggling quite a few things. We're juggling getting players back to fitness. We're juggling kind of rotating for Thursday night. And as well, we're still developing a lot of relationships on the pitch. But at the moment, we've also got to get results, and we've also got to get this team playing on the pitch. And it just seems as though teams are finding different ways to hurt us, and we're not seemingly able to cope with whatever kind of way a team chooses to attack us at the moment. Whether it's playing through our press, whether it's pressing us and forcing us into mistakes, whether it's getting the wingers out wide directly very quickly and taking on our fullbacks. At the moment, we're struggling to, especially earlier in games, it does seem we adapt a bit during games, and we seem to kind of not get by, but we seem to adapt and improve during games. That has happened in all the games we've talked about, but definitely from the off, we seem to have massive struggles. kind of keep teams catching us off guard and teams coming up with plans to really create big chances, and we're struggling to cope with it. And yesterday, Romero was guilty a few times of giving the ball away. I think Maddison, when Cliver hit the post, he was caught in the middle of the park as well. Struggling, but to be fair, it was just a 10-minute period, and then it seemed to improve. But I think that 10-minute period was very hard to watch, and the mistakes were just shambolic, absolutely
shambolic.
Shambolic.
It was only like a 5-10 minute period at Ipswich as well, but in those 5-10 minutes, the game can get away from you. If we carry on in this kind of ilk and carry on conceding these kind of chances. I mean, that Romero pass, whoever it was supposed to be to in the first minute, was absolutely shambolic. Bissouma a minute later or something.
I think a lot of it as well, Romero just putting him in trouble unnecessarily as well.
Yeah, that could be the case. But I mean, I thought Bissouma throughout the game was just making sloppy pass after sloppy pass in really bad areas of the pitch where... No, he's supposed to be one of the experienced heads in the squad. He needs to be knowing better than that. And, he's one of the most rested players in the team as well. Like, Bissouma's got to be... And he's going to have to play on Thursday now with Bentancur suspended, maybe even injured, I don't know. But...
Well, I don't know. He might not. Maybe Bergvall on the 6th.
But so you're saying Bergvall, Maddison and...
Sarr.
I would do that. Me personally, I would do that. And I think... Bergvall, with the performance that he showed coming off the pitch, he looked like the most mature player on the pitch at that moment in time. He's the only one that was moving the ball about, looking and asking for the ball consistently, trying to take men on, trying to show a bit of forward thinking. I mean, he is the only one that had the balls in the middle of the park to actually take the initiative and take a bit of leadership role and say, look, this is how we're going to play football here. Everyone else was hiding in the midfield.
He was phenomenal, and he's been phenomenal for a few months, I would say now. But yeah, in that first half, it was a weird one. So you're right, it could have been 2-3-0. Well, to be fair, they only had those 2 chances, didn't they? There was the one where Evan Nilsson had the chance and it was saved by Vicario, and the one where Cliver went through, and then following up from that chance, there was a header, I think, from Evan Nilsson, which was easily saved by Vicario, and then so it could have been 2-0, I guess. And then it was kind of for the next half an hour, we didn't do much, but at least we kind of got a foothold in the game. Like, we were just stemming the tide. Bournemouth won, kind of creating any sort of chances really in that period as well. I don't remember too much they did during that period for the next 20 minutes, half an hour. And actually, we were starting to get some good kind of openings without really doing anything. Like, Bentancur had some really good opportunities in space, and then his passing was sloppy and he was letting it go astray. I think, what's it called? I thought Bissouma, as much as you're saying he was sloppy, and I agree with you, he was poor, he was actually finding some really good passes into the centre of the pitch, which was opening up the game. I thought Odebear was looking a bit threatening down that side. He was getting in behind a couple of times, but his final ball was off. Sure, but he was getting into some good positions. I thought Johnson was obviously anonymous as well, but I thought we were starting to get a foothold in the game, and then we had a really promising attack when, again, Bissouma does really well to find Porro in the middle of the park. He's striding forward. Looks like we're going to create an opportunity. Porro tries to find Brennan on the right, underhits the pass, and all of a sudden, because that pass gets underhit, it takes out two players in Johnson and Porro, and it just means Kirkes has all that space to run into. And Kirkes is fast. He's got unbelievable stamina. You could see that the way he runs. He's so relentless down that left-hand side. But what he had, obviously, in that moment was an unbelievable cross. What a ball. One of the crosses of the season, I would say. It was
incredible. It took our whole defence out. It was pinpoint onto the head of Tavernier. Straight to Tavernier, there was no chance that any Spurs defender was going to get to that unbelievable cross. And I felt like for a lot of the time he did have a bit of the freedom down that left-hand side.
I would say Spence didn't cover himself much glory. It was a great cross, but I think Spence does kind of switch off.
No, I agree with
allows Tavernier to get the back post. I would also say it's a good finish, but Vicario, would he be slightly disappointed? It just lets it go under him. He kind of dives over it, which would be a bit disappointed if he just kind of stood his ground. Could he have used his feet to kick that away potentially? But not taking anything away from Bournemouth, I think it was a brilliant cross, good kind of volley from Tavernier. And it's hard to, you couldn't really argue that we didn't deserve to be 1-0 down with the chances we gave up in the first 10 minutes. But again, this has happened so many times, and it happened in the second half as well a few times. It's like, from one of our better moments, we concede a goal. And it's happened a lot of times throughout the season where we're looking like we're getting into the game finally, and it's just at those moments we concede. And it happened again, I felt.
Yeah, the reality is, though, you get what you deserve. And I think we did deserve it. We deserved to be more than one goal down. And even though we were fighting our way back into the game and kind of stemming the tide, and we probably conceded in our best moment in the game, it was against the run of play at that moment in time. But we got what we deserved. We deserved to be losing at that moment in time, and that's what we had.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying it has happened so often that we concede in a moment where we're just starting to get a foothold, and it's very frustrating how that keeps happening.
It's individual errors every time. Every time. Like Pedro Porro pass to let Kirkes go down that left-hand side was just shambolic, and it's just like these passes were hurting us all day long.
Yeah, for sure. Bentancur was being extremely sloppy. So was Romero. So was Bissouma. They were the main culprits. Porro, and Porro as well made some really blind passes into the centre of the pitch, and also that pass as well. But like a lot of people blame that goal. Look at that goal and blame like the Ange's tactics. But like Porro wouldn't have been in that position in the centre in space if it wasn't for Ange asking him to be there, and that was actually a really good thing because it made him completely free in that moment to attack Bournemouth and actually put Bournemouth under pressure. It's not Ange's fault. Porro plays a horrible pass, and then all of a sudden we're facing our own goal.
Yeah, but you've got to look at it the other way as well. That potentially if Porro wasn't there, in another set of circumstances and another tactical idea, someone else would be there, and Porro would be there at right back covering for any mistakes if they do happen.
Yes, but you've got to see where the midfielders are. The reason why Porro is free is because the midfielder's already marked. You know what I mean? So that is the idea is you get these kind of players free in these positions so they can hurt the opposition. And I think the position Porro took up was actually a very clever position. And if he would have done more with it, I think I think that's kind of the idea of how he wants to play. And I think it could have worked, but a really sloppy pass from Porro all of a sudden undoes that good work, in my opinion. And I think, yes, it's fair comment. It's a risky move because if he gives the ball away like he did, we're under pressure. But a player of his quality should be able to pull off that pass. It shouldn't be a difficult pass to play.
It happens way too often, though. Maybe not Porro making that kind of pass, but it happens way too often where our right side is way too open because of mistakes that we make and players left high up the pitch. It happens time and time again, week after week. Like, at what point are we going to look at it and being like, well, yeah, maybe we're making too many mistakes here and we need to do something else to make sure we're not so open on the right-hand side every single week.
I think it's just the wide areas. That's just how we play. But I think what we got to do. Yeah, I'm not saying I never said it's not an issue. I think the whole setup is an issue when it's not functioning. My point being is. When it functions, Porro should be picking the ball up in those kind of areas and looking to hurt the opposition. That's what it should be doing, right? And if we would have made something of that, like we should have, really, because I think it was a 4-on-4 at that point, and it was a really dangerous moment. If we would have created a good chance of maybe scored a goal, that's kind of how the system should be functioning. But because he made an error, and all of a sudden he gives the ball away, and then Kirkes makes a world-class cross. People say, "Oh, look, this system's like it's look how open we are. It's a massive flaw." But I'm saying, like that, like it shouldn't have been like that. We should have made a chance out of that, and it's more of an individual error in that sense rather than a tactical kind of flaw. Why that goal went in my opinion.
Yeah, but you also got to look at it like not everything can be perfect all the time, right? Misplaced passes happen all the time in football, right? And it can't be just one misplaced pass and then that's it. They've pretty much got a clean sweep down our right-hand side, down their left-hand side. I mean, Kirkes had the complete freedom of that whole side to time. He had time to pick out the cross. He had everything that he wanted to pick out the best cross. Obviously, it's a cross of the highest degree. And it's
from a deep position.
It is, but he still had the whole freedom of that whole left-hand side. And he had all the time and all the space in the world to think about where he wanted to put it and execute where he wanted to put it. It can't be just one sloppy pass, gets them all that space and time.
Well, when you have a 4-on-4 or the position that we were in, and you do make a sloppy pass, especially when you got players committed forward because it's a good opportunity, then you are going to leave yourself exposed if you give the ball away.
A 4-on-4, you've got 3 players up front. You've got Pedro Porro who's in that situation. Surely, if Pedro Porro is taking up those kind of positions on the pitch, someone's got to be back there covering where Porro was.
Yeah, I have to analyse what the midfielders were doing, but
that's never the case. No midfielder like a Bissouma or whoever our 6 is, Bentancur or a Sarr, no one ever goes and covers that area of the pitch. That's why we're so open there every single week.
I don't think that's true. I think it's when we give the ball away sloppily and then with a quick turnover. That's the point of a quick turnover. You catch the opposition out, and we're being caught out. But I don't think it's about never covering. It's about we're making really stupid errors in really bad positions, and it's leading to a very, very quick turnover where they're going very direct to the wing. And it's not about not covering. It's about they're doing it quicker than we can cover, essentially. And that's a big problem that we need to sort out 100%. That's not the only problem, but that's obviously a big issue that we have at the moment is we're turning the ball, we're allowing the team to turn the ball over in too many dangerous positions. And I think a few reasons for that. I think a lot of the players are rushing too much. I think a lot of the players are trying to force things rather than kind of just having a bit of control. I thought near the beginning of the season, we had a bit more control about our play. We weren't rushing things as much as we currently are, for sure. We're definitely always trying to play the ball forward and rushing. We need to calm down. That's something Anne just mentioned, that I don't know why it's still happening. I don't know whether it's an issue because of the kind of form and position we're on the table. There's just kind of a desperation to really turn it around, always go forward. Maybe when we're especially playing at home, the crowd getting on your back always kind of urge you forward. There needs to be kind of we definitely need to calm down in certain situations, and as well, we're definitely not winning our individual battles when teams are going man for man, when teams are going man for man marking and pressing us like Bournemouth did yesterday. We're playing the ball into feet. And it's something I remember early in the season, we played Brentford and they did the same thing. And Maddison was just having a field day because we were just playing the ball into him and he was turning and creating all that space. At the moment, especially yesterday when we didn't really have players to get on the ball, we're playing the ball into feet into our midfielders and they're just getting tackled. They're just getting out-muscled, they're getting bullied, and it's leading to turnovers, which is going to lead, when you're playing against a very direct team like Bournemouth, to a lot of your space being exposed because they're very, very direct and very quick. So I think there's a few reasons why that's happening, but it does keep happening, and that's for sure needs to change.
Second half came, and I was calling for multiple changes at half time, and credit to Angie did. He brought on Sonny, brought on Bergvall, and Bissouma and Johnson go off, who I thought both of them had stinkers in that first half. And I did think it changed. I think Bergvall and Sonny made a massive impact in that second half. Sonny was obviously causing them problems straight away. He come on, he cuts inside and has that shot that just goes just wide of the post. Bergvall, like we mentioned before, he was really taking the game to them. He showed Bissouma how to play the midfield role in probably about the first 10 minutes of that second half, and he was showed like he was playing with authority. Bergvall, he was playing like he's been in this team for the last 4 or 5 years. It was an unbelievable performance from Bergvall. Proper playing with real authority on that pitch, getting the ball, turning, driving us forward. He commanded the ball and he was commanding respect on that pitch. And right now, he is our best midfielder at this football club on current form by far.
That's what Ange said as well.
Did he
pretty
say
much?
That?
He said he's become a really important part of the team and actually a player we kind of rely on at the moment. And it's because he's just so unbelievable good at so many different facets. He's one of the best players on the ball for us technically. He's a workhorse as well, never stops running and never stops trying to kind of make challenges and make tackles, and he kind of always has so much aggression about him, and he's got unbelievable quality. That shot from 30 yards that nearly went in, you can see the technique on that. Unbelievable technique from Lucas Bergvall, and it really did change the game in our favour with his ability to get on the ball, look forward, keep the ball as well. And also it had a bit of calmness to the team, whereas I feel like Bentancur, Bissouma were trying to play things very quickly with very little quality. And I think Bergvall definitely changed that a lot. And I think really asked Bournemouth midfield a lot of different questions. And I thought we came out in the second half, I'm not saying amazingly, but obviously we came out with a bit of intent to try and get back in the game. We had a couple of moments. And again, same thing happens. We have a chance down the right-hand side. Odebear plays the ball across the face of goal, plays it into Son. Son then is in the box. He actually has Sarr to his right, could lay it off for him. He doesn't do it. He decides to cut inside and try and shot himself. His shot's then blocked. And again, we have players in the Bournemouth penalty area to try and get the equaliser. The ball, that chance goes astray. The ball then falls to Tavernier. He then bursts past Bergvall. He bursts past Porro. And it creates this unbelievable passing move, which luckily Semenyo was offside for. There was actually, I think, a pretty good line from Danton Romero staying on the halfway line. But it was a great move from Bournemouth. But again, it comes from Tottenham being on top, Tottenham being in the Bournemouth penalty box, and quickly they take the ball and a few passes, bam, 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 and they're in behind. But again, from that position, Bergvall's got to be taking, or Porro, either of them have got to be stopping that ball or taking out Tavernier. They can't allow that move to prosper, and they just allow it to go forward and allow the move to progress. And it nearly cost us. Luckily for us, Semenyo straight offside. But I don't think there was a lot of luck in there, because Romero and Danso were very much on the halfway line. So I think they knew what they were doing. But still, if Semenyo was a bit smarter, if he drops back a bit quicker, we could have been caught out. So
yeah, probably lucky in that sense that Semenyo, I mean, he was miles offside, Semenyo.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a bit silly of him to be offside in that situation.
Yeah. But he's offside because Romero and Danso are keeping their line, and they're doing their job.
But I mean, he's that far offside. I mean, you've got to be a bit smarter than that.
Yeah, but he's that far offside because they're that high.
Yeah, but I mean, he should have dropped back and stayed with the line. But look, it's a good line from Spurs. I'm not going to deny it. Of course it is. But after that, Maddison, Van der Ven come on, and you're thinking, all right, Spurs can get back, can go and take the lead here. I felt like the momentum was with Spurs at that point.
Yeah, because Son hit the post.
Yeah.
And then also Sarr has that chance, which was brilliant. I think it was a beautiful move from Tottenham.
The Sarr chance came after that, didn't it? Because didn't it come from Maddison?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so after Maddison came on, yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying Maddison Son plays through to Maddison, who lays it into Sarr. It's actually a really good move from Tottenham, and Sarr shanks it. And yet again, from that move, we then go and concede.
Yeah, with the Evan Nilsson, lovely dink over the keeper from Evan Nilsson, and I felt like both their goals were sucker punches, and both their goals came against the run of play. And once in the second half, I always felt like Spurs were going to get back into it. Even when we went 2-1 down, I just had this feeling about me that Spurs were going to get back into the game. I felt like we kind of, in a weird way, as much as like Bournemouth did have like chances in the second half and probably created even the better chance in the well, maybe not, but they did create chances in the second half. I always felt like Spurs had enough momentum to go and get back in that game.
Yeah, second half was a bit more, definitely a bit more even. I would say, obviously, in terms of the second goal for Bournemouth, by the way, I think Dan's so guilty of going walking a bit. I think if you watch the goal,
yeah, absolutely,
ball gets
100%.
played into Cliver, and he steps in, and Cliver just kind of does a little dummy and lets the ball run across him, and all of a sudden the space opens up.
He got sold down the river, Danso, for that.
And Van der Ven was then caught in two minds. Does he go to Cliver? Does he stop the shot, or does he kind of go to Evan Nilsson? In fact, he ends up doing neither, because he's kind of caught in no man's land. Cos Danso is maybe guilty of being a bit too aggressive, and bam, it's 2-0. Great finish by Evan Nilsson. But yeah, that was again. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought it was a bit of a sucker punch again, because it's not the first time even this season it keeps happening. But it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know how we can stop that. Is it a case of us being profligate in front of goal costing us, or is it just a case of whenever we have a chance we commit so many players forward that inevitably if that chance doesn't go in, we're going to get caught? But it keeps happening that we have a chance, and then if it doesn't go in, bam, we're getting caught on the counter. Brilliant. It was a brilliant goal by Bournemouth, but we did get back in the game straight away. A bit of luck. Well, actually,
just a bit.
Well, actually, I think Bergvall hits the post just after the goal.
Yeah, I mean, they scored on 65. Our goal came in 67, and we even had like a chance before that. But these chances that we're talking about, with the Son chance and the Sarr chance, I mean, and the Bergvall chance, I mean, they're shots from far out the box. I mean, they're not like clear-cut chances. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the SONNY one, for SONNY, that's a good chance, obviously, because of his quality. I think the Bergvall,
it's still an unbelievable goal if he gets that in from there. You know what I mean?
It was in the box, wasn't it? It was not in the box.
It was just outside, I think.
That's the SONNY zone.
maybe
isn't
yeah,
it?
but just outside or just inside. It's still a
And then
big chance.
Sarr obviously had a very good chance.
Yeah, Sarr's is the only one where you can think that's probably a clear-cut chance.
Yeah, that was a real good chance. He's got to score that, and then obviously Bergwijn hit the post.
But Sarr's cross, like, what? I don't know how the hell like, the camera panned to him after he scored, and he just didn't even want to celebrate. He was just embarrassed that it went in. But look, it clawed us back into the game, and that's the moment I was saying, like, I thought that Spurs had the momentum, and Spurs could go and grab the equaliser and potentially even grab a winner.
You could even see with Sarr's goal, just before he hits it, he has a look to see where Solanke and Thing is, whoever else in the box, and he just completely kind of shanked it. It was actually such a bad cross by Sarr, but nowhere near anyone, like not even close to anyone, but ends up going in the back of the net. Bit of luck to get us back in the game. Yeah, you felt like at that moment Tottenham could take the game to Bournemouth and maybe go on, and if there was still quite a lot of time left in the game, 25 minutes, so you felt like if you can get a quick goal, maybe it can really turn around. But I felt like Bournemouth at that point actually made changes themselves. They brought on Utara. What minute was that?
They brought on Utara, Scott, and Brooks came on 10 minutes to go. Utara and Scott came on with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think when those subs came on,
it kind of like
the momentum switched again, and all of a sudden I think they were starting to tire it before that, and we were starting to play through them a bit. And then all of a sudden, those three come on, and then their energy levels go up again.
It kind of felt like every goal in this game came against the run of play.
Yeah.
How weird is that? Because when Sarr scored, it was just as they were having that little momentum of pressure when they scored and blah, blah, blah. And when we scored our penalty, again, it was like when the momentum just switched into Bournemouth's favour. And then we spoke about the two Bournemouth goals came at like Spurs' good moments. It was a weird game.
Yeah. And then they started to obviously create some opportunities. They had Clive obviously hit the post with a really good chance. I mean, it would have been a good finish to score from there, but it came from, again, Maddison kind of dawdling on the ball in the middle of the park. Utara, I think it was, tackles him, plays it through to Tavernier, plays it through to Cliver, and he hits the post. Got away with that one. And Bournemouth they were looking quite dangerous at that point. If it looks like Venom was going to get a third, to be fair, it was going to be the next goal was going to be Bournemouth at that point. But credit to the team in terms of the way. We'll talk about the penalty. The way the build-up for that penalty was actually really impressive. Good ball to Son, who flicks it to Spence. He then finds Maddison. Son continuing his run down that left-hand side.
Great ball from Maddison, yeah.
Brilliant ball from Maddison. And, I mean, it's a terrible decision from Kepa. I don't know what he's doing because Son's going away from goal. So no need to dive in there. But he did, and Son took full advantage. It was a definite penalty.
You can take the man out of Chelsea, but you can't take the Chelsea out the man. Chelsea and their goalkeepers these days. But I think, it was awful from Kepa, and Son did well to kind of like just shift away and get that penalty. And everyone around me was like, Solanke's going to take this penalty. Solanke's going to take this penalty. I was saying to everyone, Sonny, there's no way Sonny is not going to be taking this penalty. And then obviously Sonny goes up to Solanke, takes the penalty off him, Panenka's it down the centre of the goal. And it's 2-2. And I thought we were going to go grab a winner after that, but it just never really materialised.
Yeah, I think neither side really could have...
it was like game over from there.
Yeah,
really.
I think obviously we tried, but we never looked like scoring. And as well, Bournemouth I think Bournemouth also tried to score, but they just couldn't get it right on their counters in the end. And I think it ended up being 2-2. And I wouldn't say it was a fair result. I think we probably got away with one in terms of just a bit of luck we had. In terms of the bit of luck we had to get back in the game at the time that we did. But I think there was some good football there. There was a lot of mistakes there, though, and that is the worrying thing. And it wasn't a performance, again, that kind of convinced anyone that we're going to start seeing consistent results yet. I still think, obviously, the positives were Van de Ven and Romero having some game time. Solanke obviously played 90. Not sure how I felt about it, but he did. He played 90 minutes.
Dead at the end,
he completely
Solanke,
looked dead.
yeah.
I don't know why he didn't take him off a bit earlier, but
he was running himself into the ground, Solanke, yesterday, and he didn't really have too much of a threat up front. But what he was doing, he showed, like, I loved his little, like, kind of link-up play throughout the game. I mean, that's just what we're missing when he's not on the pitch. You look at Tell, he just can't seem to drop deep and sort of provide any of that link-up play and any of that physicality that Solanke brings. So I don't think Solanke was great by any stretch of the imagination yesterday, but his sheer work rate, his link-up play and his pure physicality just adds another dimension to when any other striker is on the pitch for us.
Yeah, you just see the difference.
Yeah.
You see the difference when he's on the pitch compared to when he's not. And I think yesterday you could see that even though he didn't have too many chances on goal or anything like that, the fact that we could get the ball into feet, he could link up with the likes of Odebear and Son and Maddison, whereas Tell just wasn't able to do that. You just see it. It's night and day. Also, just a quick mention on the penalty. Obviously, we had a lot of struggle during build-up yesterday, it's fair to say. I think we were very much struggling to play out the back. I think Vicario was having a lot of issues. There was even one moment where he dribbled towards his own goal, and that was Nevin Nilsson nearly tackled him into the net. And
you should in that moment of the game, because that was right in front of us, right? In that moment of the game, the guy that's sitting next to me, he literally, I thought he was about to have a heart attack. Literally, I don't know. He must have he grabbed me or something like this, and he was like, "Oh my god!" He held his heart. I was like, "Bloody hell, mate!"
He did nearly dribble into his own net, to be fair, Vicario. So. And then there was obviously ironic cheers, right, when Vicario went long.
Yeah.
So what was that? So being in the stadium, what was it? Just about?
Because we were just kept struggling playing out the back, and everyone around was saying, "Just bloody hit it long, just bloody hit it long. We got Solanke up there, blah blah blah," and then he finally did, and I think it just came all the way back anyway from that moment, but. Yeah, there was just a massive cheer throughout the stadium, probably the biggest cheer of the day.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting because the goal that we did the penalty that we got comes from one of the few moments we actually were able to get through them, and then we were able to play through them quite nicely, and then we got the penalty from it. Yeah, so that's kind of the benefit of when you get it right. That's how it can look,
which is fair enough. But how many times did we get it wrong yesterday, and how many times did we nearly concede from it?
Yeah, but that's why we need to get it right more often. But I think
easier said than done.
That's the point. But that's why the point is that's why he tries it. The people who constantly complain about him doing that. I mean, that's why we try to do it, because we try to get in situations like that.
Is it a personnel issue? Is it the way that we're trying to do it? What is the reason? Why do we keep getting it wrong, and why do we keep conceding so many chances trying to do this?
When you're playing against, I think especially against Bournemouth, I think we got it wrong yesterday more than most other games. But obviously, RZ was definitely a case of us getting it wrong on a number of occasions. Not maybe to the extent that we did yesterday, but yesterday was terrible. Bournemouth are obviously one of the best pressing teams.
I think statistically, they might be the best.
Yeah,
in the league.
So I think on that occasion, I think it would have been smarter to have gone long a few more times. But I was looking at the stats as well, and Vicario did go long 9 times, and only one of them was successful. So it's not like when we went long, it kind of helped. It just meant that we were losing the ball in a different place on the pitch, which I guess is better than losing on the edge of your box, which is fair enough. But if we didn't persist with the playing out, would we have found that moment where we got the penalty? Who knows?
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. But again, we could have conceded 2 or 3 goals with our playing out the back. But it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't at this current moment in time. Because, like you said, you hit it long, it comes back every time. If you play it out the back, I guess if you play it out the back, there's more risk to conceding a higher percentage chance for them to score. So it's a hard one at the moment. I guess the reality is we need to get better at both facets. We need to get better at finding Dom Solanke and him making it stick, and we need to be better at playing out the back and not making these awful errors. Because I mean, you look at some of these errors with the Bissouma and Romero, that these kind of passes that they're trying to play out the back, and it's just shocking. Literally, Championship League One level footballers should be doing better than that.
Yeah, the decision making seems very, very bad. I'm looking at who's Romero even trying to pass to? What's the sense in making that pass? He made a very high risk pass for not much gain
in the first minute.
In the first minute, Spencer's got a man up his backside there. He's like pressing him, and he's passing it across the face of goal to a man under pressure who could have lost it, and then he ended up losing it anyway. He's got Bissouma playing with his back to goal, trying to find it, play back to Romero, playing a sloppy pass. I don't understand some of these decision making. But also maybe it's a case of having those dynamics on the pitch, which again, all these players along the back line, some of them not just come back from injury, some of them haven't even played together. Right? You've got to remember, Spence hasn't even played with Van de Ven and Romero like before. Like, these dynamics still have to kind of... And Dancer, you got Dancer, Romero, Van de Ven, like all these different things.
Yeah, but I mean, Romero is a high caliber quality football player. Like, forget relationships on the pitch. Like, the decision making is awful. Like, regardless of relationships, like, he should not be trying to pick up passes like that. I don't think that's got anything to do with relationships.
No, I think it's part of it, because you got to know where everyone's on the pitch, and that kind of how it needs to become second nature. That's kind of how your team gets to a level where it is. But yeah, when you're making those kind of mistakes, I think partly is because of the rustiness. You know, he hasn't played in 4 months, or he's played 15 minutes in 4 months. So I think that obviously comes down to it. But I think the decision making. I think obviously we know he can make better decisions than that. I think that's obviously not. I think Romero's obviously can make mistakes, but I think when it comes to his passing, we've seen better decision making than that. So I think a lot of it's to do with rustiness, a lot of it's to do with relationships on the pitch, and a lot of it's to do with. I think also I have to say a lot of it's to do with kind of lack of options to pick out, and I think a lot of the time. Players are looking up and everyone's marked, and from that happens, it's all about you winning your individual battle, and if you're not doing that, that's your responsibility a lot of the time.
I mean, Romero, as much as I loved seeing him back yesterday, because it was great to have him back, I think, you know, an hour that he got in his legs yesterday is going to do him the world of good, hopefully, to see a much better performance on Thursday. But he did just frustrate the life out of me. And he was back to his kind of old rash self as well. He made some stupid foul in the corner in an attacking phase. He made that stupid foul on the edge of our box as well, where they could have made more of that out of that free kick. I mean, he was really, not only on the ball, but off the ball, it was really rash from him as well.
Positive from him, I thought he was really good in the air, though. I thought he was making a lot of really good headers from crosses, which maybe could have put us under pressure.
What really frustrated me in the game yesterday was at 2-2, you know, we're the ones in the ascendancy. We're the ones that has got the momentum with us. And we had the ball and we were still like kind of managing the possession at that point in the game. And, you know, the fans were willing on the team to go and score. And there was just no movement at all. And you're thinking you're getting the ball. And I'm seeing some players just like, come on, move. Why is no one moving? I just don't understand it. Like, this has been something that I've been moaning about, like, when I'm at the game for the last, like, 3-4 weeks. I just don't understand what this lack of movement's all about. Like, try and drag some Bournemouth players out of position. Try and create some space for yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to score.
Yeah, it's hard to... I mean, when you're watching on TV, obviously you don't get the full picture of the whole game, well, maybe when you're there. So I don't know fully. I mean, I didn't see specifically a lack of movement during the game, but maybe in the last few minutes, I don't know, maybe that was... I don't know. I didn't. That's not something I picked up on, potentially.
Well, it was clear for everyone to see at the stadium. It really was, because, you know, a lot of people were shouting about it, and I've noticed it over the last 3 or 4 weeks. There's just a clear lack of movement from, you know, in attacking phases of play. It's just like all way too static and too stand stillish, if that's even a word. But look, we got back in the game. We were very lucky to get back in the game. And if you're looking at level of chances that both teams created, Bournemouth definitely deserved to win. But there was just something about me yesterday that I felt like we had that momentum in the second half. We were growing in the second half without creating too many clear-cut chances. And I actually said on the post-match that Spurs probably deserved a point out of it. I mean, I take that back for sure. I don't think we deserved a point out of it, but I think with the momentum, and I just always felt like Spurs were going to get back into it in a weird way. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I think we did create enough to score probably a goal. I'm not sure about 2, but definitely we were well worth a goal. Maybe that bit of luck from Sarr got us the point, because I think that obviously the penalty was well earned. I think by the way we earned it. I guess the main positive for me, not necessarily the performance overall. I think we've still got so much work to do. We're still very sloppy, giving away so many opportunities. But I guess the big positive is at 2-0, especially how the season's going, the crowd potentially turning on the players at that point. We heard loud boos at...
boys as well.
Yeah, we heard loud boos at halftime in the stadium. And the game goes 2-0, you're thinking, oh, God, this is going to turn toxic. And the main thing for me is the players didn't let their heads drop. They didn't give in. They didn't just roll over and succumb to a defeat. Like, to be fair, has happened, a few times this season where we've gone down and will not look like getting back in the game. And we did step up again, and we did. Ange first of all made some changes, and we did get back in the game, and deservedly, and played quite well at times to get back in the game. So I think that shows that the players aren't giving up and they're still trying to fight. But yeah, there's a lot of problems at the moment.
Yeah, I just feel like the clear lack of guile and chance creation is just kind of diminishing from this team. And like in the first part of the season, when when we both agreed we were playing a lot better than we are now, we were able to create chances at will. As much as maybe we left the back door a bit open, which obviously I think is a lot more prevalent than that, but we just can't seem to create consistent good quality chances.
Yeah, I think second half yesterday was
Even
a bit better.
Second half yesterday, we couldn't create consistent good quality chances. Like, we scored two of our goals. One comes from a penalty, which potentially could have been a good chance. The other one comes from a freak cross from Sarr, and the other good chance we created in the second half was the one from Maddison and Sarr. Apart from that, like, was there any clear-cut chances?
Well, I think it's more you're more talking about when we had shots, but we had, which is fair, and that's a fair thing to comment on, because you should be. That's most of the time when you're able to score is when you're able to have a shot on goal. But we definitely had openings where we should have created a shooting opportunity and we didn't, and that's kind of very, very frustrating for sure. But I would say second half it wasn't amazing, but it was better than RZ, where we didn't have a shot on target all game, and we did seem to create a bit more. But especially it definitely I would say improved once Maddison comes on and Son comes on, and they made a big difference.
Yeah, they did.
To how we played, especially Maddison. I felt and Bergvall, Maddison and Bergvall in the centre, just that ability to wriggle away from certain situations in the middle. They were a lot harder to deal with.
Well, Maddison created our best two chances of the game, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think he was actually a really good impact he made, Maddison. So I was really happy with him. But for sure, when we had that midfield, it was terrible to watch.
It was hard to watch. It was really hard to watch. I mean, where does this leave you with the manager? Any changes of thoughts? Thursday is quickly approaching. Massive game. On the evidence of what you saw yesterday, does that give you any sort of confidence that we can go and overturn the 1-0 defeat?
A bit, but I'm still concerned. I'm still very concerned, to be honest. Just my main concern is, like, Romero and Van de Ven. I wish they would have come back like just a few weeks earlier, so they were just more integrated in the team, instead of they've only just got some game time and now they're going to have to be at their best on Thursday, essentially, to get us back in the game. But the way we played...
Do you persist with Romero and Danso then? Because Romero's got an hour in his
There was
in his
rumours that
legs.
Danso did a hamstring. I don't know if you heard of that. There was rumours about it.
Oh, God.
I don't know if you heard that.
No.
I don't know how true it is. I don't know if anyone in the comments...
I heard is Bentancur.
I don't know if anyone knows in the comments, but that's what I heard. But I don't know how much truth there is to it, because I think people said they saw him hobbling, and some people say he might have done a hamstring. I don't know. Now some people, no journalists. It's all just hearsay. Just hearsay. Yeah, but you never know. Hearsay with Tottenham has usually turned out to be correct this season. I think on Thursday, would I put Romero and Van de Ven in together? If they're fully fit, I might do, because I thought Danso wasn't amazing yesterday, to be honest. But he has been good when he's come in, so I don't know if I want to disrupt that either.
Van de Ven looked good when he came on as well, with
Van
his
de Ven
charges
looked
up
good,
down
yeah.
the left-hand side.
I kind of want them both in there, but then again, Romero wasn't great, so maybe you have Danso and Van de Ven potentially.
Yeah, but I'm not going to read too much into that Romero performance, because I think it was just a case of rustiness. And I think with that hour of football in his legs, I think he may be much better for it on Thursday night.
Anyway, my point being, I am a bit concerned just because these players like Van de Ven and Romero are still a bit rusty, that they're still not, like, they're still kind of learning a bit with their teammates. But I think we looked a lot better with Son, Maddison, Bergvall and Solanke in the team together. And Odegaard, to an extent, I thought he looked bright on occasion, but his final ball still needs a lot of work. But I thought there were some occasions where, like, unlike Brennan, where when he's not on the pitch, he's just anonymous. He was getting involved, doing little tricks, little flicks, like trying to get to the byline.
It was just all kind of bark and no bite with Odegaard.
Yeah, he's 19. He needs to work on his final ball. He's got a lot to learn in that aspect, I think.
I thought he started off well, and then he kind of went really quiet. And then when he moved over to the right-hand side, it kind of reinvigorated him. I'd like to see him maybe start on the right-hand side instead of Brennan on Thursday night.
I think seeing Maddison and Son and Bergvall and Solanke link up the way they did gave me confidence that we can score goals against this RZ team, but and should be enough to get through. But I am very concerned about how they were able to stop us from playing out the back on Thursday, and will they be able to do the same thing on this Thursday, and how much is that going to hurt us? I'm a bit concerned about that. Hopefully we'll come up with some solutions to what the problems they threw at us on Thursday. But the fact that we had so many problems yesterday and it nearly cost us a goal or two is what's really concerning me. And is that gonna, is it gonna cost us on Thursday? I'm a bit concerned about that, to be honest. Right now I'm still confident that even if we do concede a goal, we might score 3, and so we should be okay. But I'm definitely a bit. I feel like, in a weird way, I feel like Thursday could be a bit of a struggle. But if we get through that, then actually I think the later rounds won't be as much of a struggle, potentially, in a weird way. Because
that is a very weird way.
I know. I know it sounds weird.
That sounds weird. Yeah.
I know it sounds weird. I'm not saying. My point isn't that if we win on Thursday, then we're going to breeze through the whole tournament. Our point being, if we can get through on Thursday, I think the later rounds we're going to actually be in a better position. Like, we're going to be the players would have had a few more games in their legs. The players coming back, all the players come back from injury, they would have been fully, like, with these players that have been running on empty. Decky will be back, all these different things. I think in the later rounds we're going to look a lot better if we can get through this tie. But I can see Thursday actually being a struggle, to be honest.
I can see it being a struggle as well. I mean, when I saw Son and Maddison and Bergvall, come on in that second half, I was sitting there thinking, you know what, we can do this on Thursday. But the more and more I think about it, and the more kind of the way that RZ press and it showed against Bournemouth as well, I just have no confidence that we can not concede. And I don't have confidence that we can go and kind of score multiple goals, like 2 or 3 goals to go and win the tie. So I am very concerned about Thursday. I can see it potentially Spurs winning 2-1 or something, and maybe it going to extra time and penalties.
Yeah, I am a bit concerned about us going out on penalties, although I would back Vicario, but I'm a bit concerned about that. I've got a feeling like we'll concede a stupid goal, get it back to 2-1, but it won't be enough. And it goes to penalties, and maybe that's a lottery at that point. And at that point, you're probably saying, that first leg really cost us, because if we lose 2-1, and we lost the first leg 1-0, I just feel like if we can get through this tie, I think you'll see that in the later rounds, the performance level will be a lot better, in my opinion. But I think right now we're still in just this little iffy moment where we've still got players coming back from injury. It's still a bit disjointed. It hasn't quite clicked yet. But I think that will happen. It just needs a bit more time.
Well, if that's the case then, and if you still believe that to be true, then your opinion shouldn't be then if we lose to RZ, then we should sack Ange.
The reason why I think that they should is just because I think the fan base is never going to turn back. That I think it's too far gone. They've lost all belief, and I think as well.
No, I don't think that's true. If
we lose to RZ, I think
okay, fine. But if we lose to RZ, but football can change very quickly, and if we show a really good run of form towards the end of the season, the question marks will still be there beginning of next season with Ange if we do stick with him. But let's say we don't get too many injuries at the start of next season, and we play how you think we can play, and start winning consistent games and start winning a few early rounds of the cup and stuff, then a lot of people can be turned.
If we start winning games again, but I think is he going to be given that time? That's the thing. I think even if we lose to RZ, I don't think he should be sacked on the spot. I think he'll get till the end of the season, in my opinion.
Should be sacked on the spot.
I don't think he will be. I think he'll be get to the end of the season.
Never mind of what he will be, but I think he should be, because it's been a nothing short of disastrous season. If we lose one more game at home, we've broken a record in a 38 Premier League game season for most home losses, which is going to happen surely from now until the end of the season. You can see us losing probably one more. Minimum.
Don't know who we have. Who do we have at home?
I don't even think it's relevant. We've lost to Leicester and we've lost to Ipswich at home this season, so I think one more loss at home is probably going to come. So even that in itself is absolute disastrous. I think, did I read a stat right before saying that we've only won 5 home games this season?
Yeah.
5. That is nothing short of abysmal. Like, seriously, like, what more does this guy need to do to get sacked? I just don't understand it. Like, how he's still in a job.
Well, he's got Thursday.
What has he done to still be in a job right now? Like, seriously.
He's just been unfortunate of the circumstances. That's why they've kept him in a job. And I think that was I think that was probably the right thing to do. But he needs to show now that he can turn it around results wise, and performance wise as well, for sure. He has to start turning it around.
But in your opinion, he's only got one game to do that.
Well, he's got one game in terms of his long-term future here, for sure. I think so. Otherwise, I think the board would have lost patience, and I think the fans would have had enough. And I think 10 games, the last 10 games of the season, you know, not having much on it, I can't see it not turning really toxic if we lose on Thursday. But if we win, then it's a bit different.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends. But even if we win, I just can't see us beating any of the other teams that we could face.
See, I think if we win on Thursday, again, my point, I think we will. Think we'll be a bit better in the later rounds. I think that's my thinking.
I love your optimism, but I just can't see it, unfortunately. But yeah, that is our review of the 2-2 game against Bournemouth. Let's move on. We've got a super chat to get into, actually, that's just been sent. This one is from Thomas Owen. It says, the space in midfield when attacking and defending is a massive issue. No one is occupying that area. This is why wingers got no room to go forward. And it's actually true, actually, because I look at it and it's like the gap between the defence and the midfield and the gap between the midfield and the attack. I don't know how this works out, but it just seems like there's acres of space between each set of kind of positions.
Well, what's he saying? Like, just in general, or like on the ball, off the ball? No one is occupying that area. This is why our wingers got no room to go forward. But I don't understand that point. They do have room to go forward usually, I would say.
Yeah, I would say, well, the wingers are always, I don't know, heavily marked out of games. It's more like the fullbacks, when they invert, get the space, don't they? The wingers don't usually get space.
The whole point of the fullbacks inverting is to get the wingers in a one-on-one situation with the fullbacks.
But they're very...
Which is, I think, does happen a lot.
Yeah, maybe it's just our wingers can't attack 1v1 because they're not getting the better of their fullbacks hardly.
I think, first of all, they're not the best at 1v1. When they do get 1v1, apart from Son...
Odebear's forte.
Yeah, and I think he's good at taking people on, but his final ball's rubbish. I thought he got beyond the fullback quite a few, especially Lewis
maybe
Cook.
Once or twice, yeah.
He got a few times, but his final ball wasn't good enough. But a few times is what you need in a football game. But you don't need to do it 10 times.
Regardless
only the best players.
Regardless
of
of what he's saying, though, do you not think like just something seems really off with the way we're tactically set up in terms of space between the defence and the midfield, and then the midfield to the attack?
Yes, I definitely think when the centre backs have the ball, there's a problem with the separation of. I've always said this, where the separation between the centre backs and the rest of the team, it seems as though everyone's always running away from the centre backs all the time. And I understand it because they're trying to create space and they're trying to basically create. You're trying to create space first of all for the centre back to play in, but also you're trying to get into position that you can hurt the opposition. But it basically means that these centre backs need to always play a very good ball. And if they don't, and if it doesn't come off, then all of a sudden you're under big pressure. And it kind of works a bit. It works okay when you've got Romero and Van der Ven to an extent, and they're playing well. I think it can work okay. But when you had not them, especially when you had Dragoshin, it was awful, absolutely awful. And that was something that I was very frustrated with, for sure. Yeah. When it comes to midfield, I think there's a lot of space in midfield a lot of the time due to the fact that when we press and we're being played around, bam, there's going to be space, because that's the point of pressing. You're pressing to get close to the players, and if they play through it, there's going to be space. And our pressing at the moment, I wouldn't say last few games our pressing's been terrible, but it's more.
It has been terrible.
No, I think it's more our build-up's been terrible. I don't think it's our pressing. I don't think I'll play. I don't see a
It doesn't
massive
seem
issue.
like it seems like it's a bit of a half-hearted press at the moment. It feels like maybe one or two players will go at any moment, but we're not hunting in packs like we used to.
Yeah, I think it definitely needs a bit more work as well. How we press, because I think
Pressing doesn't work if you don't have a proper structure behind it. It doesn't feel like we've got a proper structure behind it at the moment. It feels like just one player goes half-heartedly, another player will go.
I don't know if I agree with that, but I think definitely not everyone is doing the right thing in the pressing, because we're leaving too many gaps, and it's leading to us being played around. And I remember looking at that Villa game, and you could see, I think it was Bergvall just wasn't doing his job in the press, and it led to, if one person is not doing their job, then it can lead to the whole thing breaking down. And I think at the moment there's too many mistakes being made, I think, when it comes to our pressing.
When you're looking at these games, or side note, like, do you feel like you're watching a team that is behind this manager?
Well, the reason I would say is because the fact they stayed in the game and they didn't give up, and we came back from 2-0 down. And if they were completely given up, I don't think that would have happened. So I think
we got back in the game, but I mean, the way we got back in the game was very lucky. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen every game.
As in, the cross that went in was lucky, but again, as you admitted, they scored in our best moment. They scored when we were on top and we were creating chances. So I think
creating chances is a bit excessive. I mean, we created probably. Yeah, we didn't create that many clear cut chances.
We were on top of them, and we were. It doesn't matter clear cut, but we were having moments. We were having efforts on goal. We were on top of them at that point.
We were in the ascendancy, yeah, but I don't think we were playing like scintillating stuff or anything, were we?
No, the point being, we were the ones. Okay, in the ascendancy, whatever you want to say, right? Again, we then concede a goal, and we pick ourselves up. Bergvall's that shot. We then get a bit of luck with the cross that goes in. Well, again, that comes from us still trying to go forward, still trying to score, and not giving up. And I think that tells me that they are still behind the manager, or still fighting at least, or trying. It doesn't look like to me that I've given up.
I don't have any evidence for this, but I got a feeling it's a split dressing room. I feel like some of them are playing for him, some of them are not playing for him. Like, I look at some of the performances on the pitch, and some are just so dreadful. And then you see some players clearly fighting. But then there's also a case where you've got someone like SONNY, who's never going to stop fighting for the badge. That's just who he is, whether he's behind the manager or not behind the manager. So there's that case as well. So I'm not convinced that this whole squad is completely unified behind the manager.
I think in any squad, sometimes you have people. I don't know who you're referring to, but I think in every squad, some people like the manager more than others. I think that's only natural. But I think in our previous 10 years, I think it's been pretty clear, definitely from a lot of reports, but also on the pitch and stuff, that a lot of the squad didn't like who was in charge. I think, and you heard a lot of reports from journalists saying it was, the training ground was a dreary place, all these different things. And we just haven't heard that yet, but, maybe we will start hearing it. What did you think of Andrew's comments about the atmosphere then? He said the players did well to come back from 2-0 down, especially with the atmosphere as it was, he said. And he also mentioned...
Was there any context to that comment, or that's just a comment he made? So I didn't watch his press conference or anything yesterday.
He was just saying that the context was... he was just saying that it was a difficult atmosphere to play in, I guess. And he was saying, given the atmosphere, it was good for that the players, were able to come back. I'm guessing he was saying, the fact it was flat or whatever, the fans weren't happy. And as well, he was asked about what the fans on Thursday night. He was saying, you look how RZ supported their team and how it really helped them, and we need our fans to do the same on Thursday, he was saying. But he also did mention that that has to come from us, and the we have to give the fans something to cheer about. Essentially, he was saying, if we can have a fast start, then all of a sudden we can get the crowd being louder. That can really help us. But a lot of people are suggesting that he's blaming the fans, or saying the fans need more support. I guess following on from what Vicario did last week, is there a feeling that the fans aren't appreciated enough, maybe, from this team and coaching staff?
I think when you go back to the beginning of the Ange era and the amount of support and love that we had for this team and had this manager. It was like, you look back at it, right? The whole of last season, pretty much up until the end, you know, with Angels playing after every game and the atmospheres in away ends, the atmospheres in the home ground. It was incredible, actually. It was actually like a great time to be in the stands as a Spurs fan, just in terms of the atmosphere. You know, it's because at that moment in time, we saw something to go on and we saw something to get behind, you know. The first 10 games of last season, it kind of all stemmed from there, and we all thought we could get back to those first 10 games, and it just never really materialized, and the atmosphere kind of just slowly drowned down. And I just feel like right now, the fans don't have really much to be believing him in anymore. I think the belief has been sapped out of this fan base, and I do feel like the majority now kind of feel like this manager don't have a long-term future here. We're not seeing much on the pitch to really support and get behind, and every game seems to be just much of nothing, really. And the season in the Premier League is pretty much done. There's nothing really to go on there. So I think the atmosphere will be a bit better on Thursday, just because it's a massive game. But ultimately, the players and the manager need to give us a lot more to support. And you know, I'm one to say that fans should be doing their job every game, no matter what kind of your feelings are towards the manager of the team. That's not what everyone is like, and they need more. They need to see more, and I feel like the belief is completely gone from this fan base.
Do you feel like he was blaming the atmosphere?
I didn't see the comments, so I can't really comment.
He said it was good for the players to turn the game around, considering how the atmosphere was. So he's kind of implying. I guess some fans are saying he's implying the fans are making it more difficult for the players.
Well, I would say the players are making it more difficult for the fans, or the manager's making it more difficult for the fans. So look, if he had any sort of pop at the fans, then it's going to shorten his tenure here even more, because you don't want to be picking a fight with the fans, which he kind of has done in the past as well. When, you know, we played Man City at the back end of last season, and he kind of came out and apologised quickly straight after that. I don't know if he's picking a fight with the fans or not. I need to probably just watch what the press conference and see how he said it and what he said completely. But look, I can understand where he's coming from, because yesterday's atmosphere was horrific, and it is hard maybe for the team to play under that kind of atmosphere. But when you give a first half performance like that, how can you expect the fans to be expecting anything from that game and to cheer on the players as ferociously as they want us to?
Yeah, I think his point was more about the atmosphere was bad because you were 2-0 down, not the other way around. You weren't 2-0 down because the atmosphere was bad. So I do think that's not what he was saying, but I see a lot of fans on social media being very angry at a lot of these comments, saying, how dare he have a pop of the fans, all these different things. Like, you know, the fans would cheer if you weren't so rubbish, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, I feel like they were just kind of interpreting that comment, you know, as worse as possible, potentially.
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, I need to go back and watch it. I don't really know what to say or what to feel and what to think about it. But let's just hope that we see a better atmosphere on Thursday, because by God, the team are going to need it, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to player ratings. 2-2 against Bournemouth. First up is Vicario. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. I mean, he earned that 8 probably in the first just the 5 minutes of that game, where we could have been 2-0 down. Brilliant saves. One getting down low, I think, to Evan Nilsson's shot, which I thought was a brilliant save. And could he have done better with the goal that we conceded? Potentially, but I think he just saves us so much. It seems like game in, game out now. He's making, I know we're losing some of these games, but he's saving us from embarrassing scorelines week in, week out.
Yeah, he's definitely making some brilliant saves. I did think his distribution was a bit of a problem yesterday, and I think he was making some bad decisions when playing out the back. But
is that him or is that instruction though?
I think it was him.
It's not instruction, obviously, to play bad passes, but like, it's clear instruction to just keep it short and, you know, to try and play under pressure in the press.
That wasn't my problem with him. My problem was he was making bad decisions when playing out the back, and there was sometimes there was a player free, didn't use him, and he went to a player under more pressure. And I think that, you know, that's definitely on Vicario. I don't think Andrew's telling him to do that. obviously he plays it very quickly, and Ange wants him to get the ball back in play quite quickly. He doesn't want to have the ball kind of stop dead and stuff like that, and he doesn't want Vicario to go long from goal kicks. So that's all on Ange. But when he's got Dan so free to his right, and he goes for someone who's marked essentially to his left, and it puts us under pressure, I think that's on Vicario, in my opinion. But he made some brilliant saves. Definitely the one from Clive and the one from Evan Nilsson in the beginning. To be fair, apart from those two saves, how many other big saves did he actually make? I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to see how many saves he actually made in the game. It says he made 6 saves from inside the box.
Yeah, he made 6 saves, but
from inside the box.
But how many of those saves were like?
It says goals prevented 0.54.
So he's XG prevented. So I mean, it's not pretty. That's pretty good, I would say. Save, but I think apart from those 2 saves, I'm just trying to remember anything that was really glaring before that. But still played pretty well. We know he's an unbelievable shot stopper, and I think he's proven that since he's come back in the team, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. His long ball accuracy was. He attempted 9 and 1 successful.
Yeah, that was a problem, and that's what people always point out. Oh, why is he always playing short? And then he plays long, and that's also a problem because he's only got. He's not the best long passer, Vicario, as well. I don't think he's terrible though. To be fair, I think he's better than a lot of other keepers in the league, but he's just not. He's no Kinski, put it that way.
Let's move on to Jed Spencer. Because him a 5, I gave him a 6. Look, he's got to be doing better with tracking the run of Tavernier for the goal that he scored. And I was getting quite frustrated with Jed at times as well because, again, a bit similar to the last game against Alkmaar, I felt like at points when we were trying to play it out the back, he was getting quite frustrated and he kept trying to dribble out the black at times and lost the ball on a number of occasions. But apart from that, I thought like he did well at certain times in the tight spaces to try and provide the ball into the midfield. But it wasn't his greatest display by any stretch of the imagination. There was one really good last man challenge on there as well. Yeah,
did really well. Sorry, should have done a lot better when for the first goal for sure, no doubt about it. Loses Tavernier, falls asleep at the back post. There was some occasions though he did link up quite well with Odebear, I felt, on that left-hand side when he was getting forward, but I also felt like, again, he's trying to kind of dribble his way out of trouble a bit too much and sometimes plays his way into trouble. I think his was kind of having struggles from build-up and giving the ball away, but was involved in the penalty that we got. Good link up between him and Son and into Maddison. So I think he's on the left and he's looking a bit at home at times when he was on the ball going forward. But definitely wasn't his best display in recent weeks.
Yeah, it feels like the last 2 displays now from Jed Spence have been a step in the other direction. Like it's not at the levels that we were seeing in previous weeks.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Cuti Romero falls all round captain on the day. Cuti, it was great to see him back in the starting lineup, but then within the first minute of after that excitement kind of died down, he makes a horrible and lets Evan Nilsson in, which could have been 1-0, which probably should have been 1-0. And horror pass, and he was full of mistakes pretty much whole afternoon. I did feel like he kind of worked his way into the game at some point, but the fouls back to kind of rash Romero that we were accustomed to seeing a while ago. Poor foul at the edge of our area that led them with a dangerous free kick, and there was one up the other end of the pitch as well where he probably doesn't need to make a foul. But look, regardless of that, I think the hour in his legs will do him well for Thursday night. It was clear to see that he's been out for a while and he's just a bit kind of out of practice really, and he needs to get back into the swing of things. I've no doubt Cuti Romero is a top quality defender, and this hour in his legs is going to do him the world of good. But I don't know about you. I was thinking about this at the game yesterday. Whenever Romero has the armband on, he seems to put in a bit of a stinker.
When was the last time that happened?
I can't remember the game it was. Was it in Europe, or I can't? Maybe someone in the chat can tell me which game it was. But I do remember him the last time he had the armband on. He was really poor.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, as you say, it was great to see him, and then it wasn't great to see him at the same time. I feel like when you've been out for so long, you're thrust back into the action for your first minutes in 4 months. I think rustiness is obviously going to happen as well. He's playing with a new centre-back partnership in Danso. He's playing for the first time with Spence, even like the likes of Bergvall. A lot of these players he's playing for the first time with. So I think that gets a lot of adjustment to, and I think definitely the decision making was very rusty, making a lot of decisions, poor decisions, especially right at the start. Definitely didn't look at his best for sure, especially on the ball. A lot of bad passes, a lot of bad mistakes. I did think he got a bit better as the game went on, and wasn't as bad as he was in the first 10 minutes, and was also winning a lot of headers in the box, both for and against us. And that was really good. And I think the hour would have really helped him, but. Yeah, he definitely has a lot of improving to do for sure based off that game.
Yeah, Kevin Danso up next. Him gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. Obviously, he's got to be doing better with the second goal. Was it? Yeah, the second goal.
I think both goals really.
Well, the second goal he gets completely sold by Cliver, and he doesn't track him well enough. But I actually felt throughout our back four he was probably the strongest from a defensive standpoint than any of them. Like, I don't think Romero was holding himself in any glory. Same with Spence or Porro. And I felt like Danso, from a defensive capability, was probably the best out of the lot.
Yeah, he was all right, I think. I still think he should have done better with both goals. I think he gets caught under the ball for the first one. And I think the second one, just completely steps out when he doesn't need to. Cliver just rolls the ball past him, is very easy in it, and it's another goal. I think he maybe suffered a bit from Romero-itis in that moment, just being a bit too rash, and he was partnered with Van der Ven, so I guess maybe it was kind of his responsibility to be a bit more front-footed. I think on the ball wasn't... I think when he was, again, driving the ball at his feet, he was good, but his passing wasn't great in this one. I don't think he made enough kind of good passing angles for Romero as well when they were on the pitch together. Didn't make himself available enough, so that was disappointing considering how he's been in other games. Be interesting to see what he does on Thursday with Danso specifically, but I don't think it was a shocker, but I think in both goals could have done better.
Pedro Porro up next. 4s all round for Pedro. Obviously, we're going to highlight the first goal that we conceded, just a really bad pass that put us in all sorts of trouble down our right-hand side, down left-hand side, where Kirkheads obviously puts in a wonder ball for Tavernier at the back post, and that all comes from Pedro Porro's sloppy pass and him being left out of position. And I felt there was a number of really poor passes from Pedro Porro throughout the game. However, I would say that, he was a fairly good outlet on that right-hand side as well, where he made a number of really dangerous and inviting passes and crosses throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think we know going forward, he's always got that quality, and I think he did provide that when he was in the forward areas. That delivery was still pretty good, and set pieces were good, but off the ball, obviously the first goal, the way he gave it away was shocking, leaving us exposed. And he was also playing way too often some blind passes into the middle of the park, which just unnecessarily put us out of trouble. Sometimes he makes some really bad decisions, Porro, when he's on the ball. And I think sometimes when you watch like Trent, he can have these games where he gets the ball and he just goes long and just punts it, or just makes some poor decisions because he knows he's got the quality that if he tries it enough times, it's going to come off. And I think Porro sometimes does that as well, but without as much quality as Trent, so it comes off less even. But we know that Porro has got a lot of quality in his legs, and I think when we go forward, we see it. But unfortunately, sometimes in his own half, and there's a simple pass on, and he tries an extravagant ball for no reason, and sometimes it ends up biting us in the arse, and I think he's got to work on that.
Bentancur up next. 3s all round for Rodrigo, and yeah, I'm sorry, but it was a horrible display from him, and it's so up and down from him at the moment. It's really frustrating because one week you're thinking, all right, this guy could do the job, and the next week he just puts in an absolute stinker. Unfortunately, against this Bournemouth team, it was an absolute stinker. It was just nowhere near aggressive enough in the middle of the park from him. He was coming second best to, I think, a lot of 50-50s on the day. And just when you're coming up against this kind of Bournemouth midfield, when they're going to be bang up for it and really aggressive, you need to match that intensity, and I just don't think he could do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the first half, it was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from any midfielder from us this season. I thought he was absolutely shambolic. The amount of times he gave the ball away in simple areas. There was even one moment where, again, similar to Porro, striding forward, we've got a really good attack on. He's got Porro to his right, I think it was. He had Solanke ahead of him. He had options, and he just plays the ball behind Porro, and it goes out of play. He had time and time and time. He was waiting and waiting. Could have played it early. He waited and waited, and then plays the ball out of play. There was a number of times he's trying these quick interchanges and it's just loose. He's playing it blind. He's giving the ball away. He's just giving it straight back to the opposition. Really, really sloppy. And I thought he was a shambles in that first half. Also, he lost a few 50-50 challenges as well. Even off the ball wasn't particularly impressive. I thought it was slightly better when he went into the six, to be honest. So that was, I wouldn't say a positive, but he was a bit better. But he obviously lasted another 15 minutes before he got taken off. But I thought that first half, one of the worst performances I've seen from a midfielder for Tottenham this season.
Bissouma, Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 2. I was so frustrated. He only lasted 45 minutes, but I was getting so frustrated with him. Obviously, in the first couple of minutes, an awful pass to let Bournemouth in with a shot, which could have been another goal in the very early stages of the game. And I just thought, he was just losing the ball in such key areas for us in the park, and he just lacks a lot of care on the ball at times. And other times he can drive forward and look really good, but I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with Bissouma, but it's too erratic from him at times, particularly in big games. And I know this wasn't a big game as such, but against a team like Bournemouth that are going to press you into oblivion, you need to have more wits about you, and I just don't think he has that.
Yeah, I agree. I think he really struggled with Bournemouth's pressing, especially with his back to goal in that first half. When Bissouma's really confident at his best, when he takes the ball with his back to goal and he can kind of turn out trouble and knows where the space is. And I thought Bournemouth really exploited him kind of being a bit blind in those situations. And his touch was absolutely like a trampoline. It was horrific, just bouncing off him way too often. However, I did think it was a bit better than Bentancur on some moments. I think there were some moments where I actually picked the ball up from deep and was able to find some really clever passes. I think both to Bentancur and to Porro, both free in right in the middle of the park, was from some really good passing from Bissouma. And I think that actually opened up the pitch quite a bit and should have really led to chances for Tottenham. I also thought off the ball, he was better than Bentancur as well, was competing a lot more, making a few more tackles, getting around the pitch a bit more. So I thought he was actually unlucky to be taken off compared to Bentancur. I thought Bentancur was worse, but he still, wasn't great as well.
Pape gets a 6 all round from us, and I thought he was the best of a really bad bunch in the middle of the park for Spurs, definitely from the starters anyway. And even in the first half, I thought he was being aggressive. He was buzzing around like he usually does, and I think it's a step forward, this performance from Sarr, than what we've seen. He actually had a good cameo last week, didn't he? And he's backed it up with a competent display. Let's say, I'm not going to say it's a worldie of a display, but definitely a competent display. And on top of that, as well, a bit creative. 3 key passes on the day, got into good scoring opportunities. Obviously, with the chance that Maddison laid on a plate for him. And he scores an absolute worldie to get us back into the game. Now, just a cross that finds its way in at the back post, and he seemed almost embarrassed to celebrate that.
Yeah, and he should have done better with that chance that Maddison set up for him as well. I thought it was a much better performance from Pape, getting in really good positions. I think he was the one. I wouldn't say showed so much quality when he was on the ball, but showed a bit more of a willingness to ask different questions of his position and where Bournemouth were on the pitch. I think, he got into a few more goal-scoring positions than the likes of Bissouma and Bentancur for sure. Wasn't as sloppy as them as well. I think in the second half provided some really good energy for the team. Obviously got his goal with a bit of luck, but I think it was a much better performance compared to Bentancur Bissouma for Pape.
Brennan,
and he was fasting as well, so credit to him.
Oh, was he fasting on the day? That's credit to him. Next up is Brennan Johnson. 3s all round for Brennan. Really poor. Another ghost performance. Just keeps playing in to the narrative when people say if he doesn't score, he's not really doing much on the pitch. And another example of that yesterday. Failed to take on his man, and any time he got one-on-one with his defender, it just seems like he passed it backwards or passed it sideways. The only real thing of note I remember him doing is tracking back and making a few challenges in our half. Apart from that, I don't think he did anything.
What was really frustrating is actually there was what I can remember was a couple of times, especially when there was one on Heisen. He's got him squared up. He actually takes him on and beats him. He gets beyond him, and what he's got to do at that point is cut across him and try either win a foul or make Heisen bring him down, or he can get into a goal scoring position. But instead of that, instead of cutting across him, he gets beyond him, then he cuts back and goes backwards. Yeah, I didn't understand it. It's like, you got beyond him. Like, why are you going backwards? Keep going. You're faster than him. He had the beating of him, and he did the same to Kirkes as well. There was one moment he got the beating of Kirkes. It looked like, okay, just get beyond him, and he cuts back. And I don't understand it. So frustrating. Yeah, I think was he taken off at half time? Deservedly. I think Odegaard should have shown a lot more on the right than he did. I thought he was very, very frustrating. Needs to just be a bit more of a killer. I know he's a killer when he's in front of goal and he's a good finisher, but when he's got that pace about him, use it. And I feel like way too often he's just scared, or I don't know, he's scared of losing the ball, or he doesn't want to go for it. He deservedly got taken off. He was a very, very frustrating performance and needs to do better.
Yeah. Dom Solanke back in the starting lineup, much to all our surprise. I couldn't believe it when I saw Solanke in the videos coming into the stadium. 5 for Sim, 6 for me, basically just for sheer work rate, pretty much. Because I don't think he had too much of a positive impact to our attacking play. But what he does do, he chases down everything. He never stops running, gives so much to the team in that aspect. And he just adds so much to the team as well when he just drops deep and kind of provides his link-up play. That's something that none of our other forwards pretty much can give us. So it wasn't a great display from Solanke, but it was great to see him back and great to see these little aspects coming back into our game.
Yeah, I think he definitely made a difference. I think he definitely, you could see the impact he can make on the pitch compared to Tell beforehand. He can hold the ball up, he can hold off defenders, he can make the ball stick. I did think there were times in the middle of the park we saw really good stuff from him, linking up with Tell and Maddison and getting the ball into good areas. Unfortunately for him, when the ball came into the box, he wasn't threatening enough for my liking, and I'd like to see him, having more shots and things like that. That's when I think Solanke's at his best, but definitely the work rate and his ability on the ball, his touch and those kind of things, that was really, really welcome return, and hopefully with more game time we'll see even more from that and more goals as well.
Last as the starting 11, Wilson Odegaard. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Really up and down game from Odegaard, to be honest. I thought when we started getting into our groove a little bit, Odegaard was our most dangerous player. And out on the left-hand side, he was driving at his man. He was looking to force the issue and show his dribbling ability was on show. But then kind of his end product was really poor. Then he kind of vanished out the game a little bit and started to lose the ball quite regularly. And then when he moved over to the right-hand side, that kind of came back into his game where he was looking dangerous again. But then his end product was poor. So, it was kind of all bark but no bite from Odegaard. But he is exciting when he gets on the ball and gets into his flow, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think what I like about Odegaard compared to like Brennan at times is he has a bit more ability to get involved in the game, link up with other players, little short bursts past certain players in the middle third as well. He looks bright, he looks exciting, just needs to work on that quality, picking people out in the final third when he gets to the byline and when he gets into the penalty box. He needs to be better decision making, but that, a lot of times with young wingers that can always be their problem a lot of the time, when they look bright, they're sharp, good at dribbling, and then that's what takes you from being a good player to a great player. And hopefully that will kind of change for him in a moment. But clearly at the moment, needs a lot of work when it comes to that quality and the end product from him. But I think there were some bright moments. He was asking good questions of the fullbacks, I think, of Bournemouth. And I want to see more from him.
Yeah. Moving on to the substitutes, Lucas Bergvall, who came on at half-time. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. I was kind of deciding for ages on this, 8 or 7. I did decide to go for 7, but maybe I'm thinking now 8 is probably better. But no, he was our best player, best outfield player for sure throughout the 90 minutes. He comes on straight away, demands that authority. He's taking that responsibility on the pitch that none of our other midfielders were doing, constantly asking for the ball, constantly moving, constantly trying to drive the team forward. I mean, the guy has got such a kind of old head on his shoulders for someone so young, and it's brilliant to see. He's the only midfielder at this moment in time, particularly with Kulusevski out and Kulusevski kind of playing with fatigue before that actually has that forward-thinking mind. And you obviously got Maddison there as well, but I just think Bergvall, the way he kind of just is the first name on the team sheet right now, and resting him for a game on Thursday night just speaks volume of how well he's doing and how settled he is on this team at the moment. So he's our best performing midfielder, if maybe not even midfielder, maybe just player in the team besides Vicario. So I loved seeing his performance yesterday, and his guile and creativity are top notch. And he could have had a goal and a wonder goal at it as well.
Yeah, I think it was a phenomenal second half from Bergvall. So happy to see him come off the bench, because we needed someone like him who had a bit of calmness on the ball, who was able to get his foot on the ball and have that quality to kind of stride past a lot of those Bournemouth midfielders. And I thought the midfield of Bournemouth started to struggle a bit to contain him when he was on the pitch, and he has so much ability. Bergvall, his ceiling is limitless. He can do so much, and he even moved into the 6, and we didn't see him too open when he did that. His kind of that long range effort which hit the post was an unbelievable effort, but we were just able to progress the ball up so much more consistently when he was on the pitch, and we looked so much more threatening. And his dribbling ability, there was a one moment as well, he's in the middle of the park and he's got 2 Bournemouth defenders. He just rolls the ball back in between 2 of them and moves to the opposite side. And when he does things like that, you're thinking, wow, what an unbelievable player he is. And what a talent. It's just unbelievable what a talent we have on our hands, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on. I would say, though, if I'm nitpicking a little bit, for the goal that was offside, he did get beaten a bit too easily there, didn't he?
That's fair. And he came rushing in to Tavernier. I had to either take the ball or the man in that situation. Can't let him past him.
Yeah. Let's move on to Sonny. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Great to see Sonny on the pitch, obviously. Grabbed us a penalty. The way he won it was brilliant. And obviously slotted it with a Panenka down the middle of the pit, middle of the goal. And look, straight away when he came on, didn't he? He looked dangerous. He looked threatening. He cut inside and had that shot where it was just wide of the post. And I thought, he was giving Bournemouth no ends of problems, and definitely something else to think of that our other wingers weren't providing for us. Yeah,
definitely improved the quality of our attack, and I think he definitely improved how we were playing for sure. I think actually was taking a bit of a different position, I felt, a lot of the time. Was definitely a lot more central than he usually is. And I think late in the game as well, and you could see with where he picked the ball up for the penalty, was definitely playing a lot closer to Solanke. I think there was a point he was even playing alongside Solanke with Maddison in behind. I think playing a bit more of a striker role. And his ability to kind of make those runs and ask different questions to that back line, keep them on their toes and get them running back the other way. I think he was doing that a few times. Obviously, he did hit the post, created a few chances. He had that moment where should have laid it off to Sarr, which was a bit disappointing, but the positions he was taking up was a lot more dangerous than Odegaard. Looked like he had that quality about him. And I think he really changed the game with him and Bergvall when he came on. So a really good cameo from Sonny. And penalty, calmness personified, I think it's fair to say.
That's our Sonny. And after missing the last one, he had to put this one in the back of the net.
And considering he missed the last one, just calmness to kind of try that Panenka and kind of dink it like he did. Didn't quite catch it as maybe as clean as he should have potentially, but got it in back in the net at the end of the day.
That's what he was going for. Completely
for the miss hit.
Take the keeper off. Catch the keeper off guard. I mean, he fooled everyone in the stadium because everyone, with the way he ran up to it, it looked like he was just going to smash it in the bottom right. Yeah. And then, disguised into the middle of the park, and Kepa had no answer to it. But brilliant from Sonny. He pretty much saved us yesterday.
Is that the first? I'm trying to think of other Sonny penalties. There's not that many to think of, but I don't remember any of his other ones going down the middle. I'm trying to. I think they've all gone down the.
How many penalties had he actually taken us? Can't be more than 5.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Because we hardly got a penalty last season.
They usually all go into the corners.
Yeah. But he says he's been practicing penalties ever since missing that one, and now we've seen what he's been practicing.
But it's like, I think Kane, occasionally, he goes for the corners, but then occasionally you just keep the keeper guessing by going in the middle. So maybe he's learning from Kane.
Yeah, I guess so. And the last player that we're going to rate is James Maddison. 7s all round. Came on for the last half an hour. was probably our best creative spark throughout the game. He created our best 2 chances of the game. Obviously, that ball in behind to find Sonny for the penalty, and obviously the other one where he found Pape Matar, where he probably should have done better from in that situation. So, yeah, we've got one more player after this, but he did make an impact when he came on. And I think that's what we were missing pretty much from the start. Just someone with a bit of guile, with a bit of creativity that can move in those tight spaces, and that's what he brought us.
Definitely, I thought it was a really good cameo again from Maddison. Actually, to be fair to Maddison, since he's come back from injury, I think he's been pretty good. And I think it was another really good display from Maddison in this game. And I think came off the bench, was working those little pockets. What I love about Maddison is in those tight spaces, he keeps the ball so close to him. So hard for the opposition to kind of get the ball off him in those tight spaces sometimes, because they either have to make a foul or they have to kind of allow him that little bit of room to get the shot or pull up the pass. He obviously set up that chance for Sarr. Brilliant ball in behind for the penalty as well. And I thought was a breath of fresh air when he came on the pitch. Sometimes when he's in that mood, he's great to watch. But there was one bad moment when he's running back towards his own goal, and he kind of slipped or kind of dawdled on the ball, allowed Bournemouth to nick the ball off him in a dangerous position, and I think they ended up hitting the post from that move. So that was disappointing, but I think by and large, really great to see Maddison in that kind of form.
And now, last but not least, in terms of the outfield staff, and that is Mickey van der Ven, 6s all round. So good to see Mickey back on the pitch. And when the Spurs fans saw him warming up, there was definitely loud cheers and a lot of excitement around the ground, because he's literally I think he's the biggest fan favourite out of everyone in the squad right now, which is great to see. And, it's been a long time coming. He got back on the pitch and we saw those marauding runs down that left-hand side, which everyone was getting off their seat for. I felt like potentially he could have done a bit more to stop Evan Nilsson getting in behind him. But, yeah, apart from that, it was a pretty comfortable display.
Yeah, caught in no man's land for that, unfortunately for him. I think more because of Danso than himself, but looked really good. I actually thought as well, for the chance, I know it was getting put in trouble by Maddison, but for that chance where they hit the post, he kind of just doesn't. Again, he's either goes to Cliver or he marks a space in behind. He kind of does neither and allows Bournemouth to have that opportunity where they get a chance from it. I think other than that, though, he was a pretty good cameo. Again, you can see he's still not quite. He's still a bit rusty, and you can see that. But those long stride forwards in the attack were great to see. There was one really good one where he goes all the way down the left hand side and plays a really good ball into Solanke, who miscontrolled it, and the chance kind of went begging. But I think a really promising cameo from him, and it was really great to see him back on the pitch. And I think it'll be interesting to see if he starts on Thursday, but we're going to need him in this run for sure.
Yeah, when he was doing those marauding runs down the left-hand side, a part of me was just like, chill out, mate. We need you for Thursday. No hamstrings now.
Did we notice any difference in running style?
No, I can't say I did, to be honest. Last but not least, Ange Postecoglou, 5-5s all round for Ange. Look, we managed to turn it around, and I think a big reason of why we did turn it around was the changes that he made throughout the game. I think it was really good changes to bring on Sonny and Bergvall for Brennan and Bissouma. I don't think you need to be a genius to make those subs at half-time, but look, he did it, so credit to him. And I was a critic of his for not making the changes. I mean, he brought on Odegaard, but more changes than that in the half-time of the RZ game. So got to give him credit for making the changes to bring the momentum in our favour. Yes, it was lucky the way that the goals did come in terms of the cross from Sarr and maybe the penalty that we got as well. But look, I think I can understand why he picked that lineup, because he's got one eye on Thursday. However, if you've got any ambitions to go and hurt the opposition and go and win the game, you've got to put a creative player in the middle of the park. Otherwise, you're not going to break them down, and I think that's what we saw, and that's why we made the changes at half-time, and it looked a whole lot better when Son, Bergvall, and particularly Maddison came on later in the game as well. So I think there's clear tactical issues there, but I just think this game didn't really mean much, to be honest. So I think if this performance and this result happened on Thursday night, I'll be a lot more critical of him. But because it's in a game where he's clearly resting players for the game on Thursday, it's hard to critique him too much on the starting lineup.
Yeah, I think he's still using the squad. He's rotating. He's trying to keep players fresh for Thursday, but also trying to put out a team he thinks can compete. But I looked at midfield. I thought there's no chance we're going to be able to create with that midfield. It's just they're going to be players who are going to not know how to open teams up, and I think that's what happened. And I think that the starting that midfield was a mistake, albeit you say it's a mistake, and then if he plays Bergvall and he gets tired for Thursday, you're like, oh, he's got to rotate him. So I kind of feel both sides and understand why he's rotating. I feel like he could have started one of him or Maddison though, and that was a bit of a shame he didn't start
give
either of
them
them.
45 each or something.
Maybe but if we're, I don't know. Yeah, I get maybe.
I guess as well, maybe another thing in his head with those players in midfield is provide legs and steel. So Bournemouth don't win the midfield battle, but it just didn't materialise like that.
I wouldn't even say they won the midfield battle per se. I think it's more just when we're playing out the back, we were just making sloppy errors. And I think that was a lot to do with Bournemouth's pressure, which we clearly didn't come in with a game plan to handle, I don't think, as well as we could have. It was well to do with a lot of rustiness from the likes of Romero and Bissouma making mistakes and stuff like that. But I did think the changes helped. And I also think tactically he made a few little tweaks to a few players' positions, which really we benefited from a lot and we ended up getting advantage of. So good tactical changes, getting back in the game, but a lot of the mistakes and a lot of the how we gave up certain positions to Bournemouth, he's got to take responsibility for.
Yeah, which is all building up to a head now to that game on Thursday night, because I genuinely believe if we lose on Thursday, I don't think we see him past the international break.
I think it depends what happens. If it's like we go on penalties, I think he might stay. But if it's like a really embarrassing 3-0 defeat or something, he might get sacked. But I think it's more chance he stays till the end of the season than anything, in my opinion.
Well, all will be revealed on Thursday night, and you know where to catch a watch along is right here. And we are Tottenham TV. I think me and Sim both in the studio for that one. But let's move on and let's see what 5 things we did take away or we did learn from the 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. And first up is Romero's return.
Yeah, and this is Romero's first game for obviously 4 months since being injured against Chelsea, or even before that he was injured as well, during the international break. So he's kind of had 15 minutes in a long time. Very, very rusty, I think it's fair to say. In fact, some of the stats show it. I think 74% pass accuracy, which for a centre back is actually really low. Usually their passing accuracy is like in the 90s. So that's fairly concerning. I think it shows his rustiness on the ball. Only 3 of his 7 long passes completed as well. Something he needs to definitely work on. But in more positive news, he did win 4 out of his 5 aerial duels. So I think that's a positive, how dominant he was in the air. And I think that actually really helped when Bournemouth was swinging crosses, and he was able to really help with that. Made 2 clearances on the day. Definitely a lot of work to be done, Romero, to get him back to his sharpest, but nearly cost us on a couple of times, especially in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. Look, it was great to see him back, but very, very rusty from Romero. I was expecting a lot better performance, particularly with the captain's armband as well on. But it was kind of really rash on the floor. Passing, challenges, fouls, everything was really rushed and kind of just not good enough, really. But yeah, in the air, he did well for us. But I'm sure, I'm certain of it, that hour in his legs is going to do us the world of good on Thursday, and I'm expecting a proper performance on Thursday from him. A proper one. But let's move on to number 2, and that is Vic's poor passing.
Yeah, and I think
Seems to be the theme of the day.
Definitely, there was a lot of poor passing to go around, but I think Vic for sure had struggles with his build-up play, and he had struggles with him, in build-up, looking to find the right pass, and obviously made some crucial saves to keep us in the game. But when it came to his passing, again, 71% passing accuracy. I think it all came from his long passes, which is 9 long passes attempted and only 1 was accurate. So whenever he went long, we basically came back and he wasn't able to retain possession or get any sort of advantage. So we had a lot of trouble playing it short with Bournemouth pressing us, but whenever Vicario went long as well, it also kept coming back and we kept losing the ball there. So a lot of things to work on. I think a few times as well, he had a better option available to him, and he went for a more difficult pass, or he rushed a pass, and it led to Tottenham being put under pressure. And I think that's one of the things I've noticed with like comparing him to Kinski with the ball at his feet. Just the calmness Kinski has when the ball's at his feet, and his ability to spray passes to fullbacks and things like that. Whereas Vicario, he just seems to rush things a lot, and he seems to panic. And obviously, he had that moment where he ran towards his own goal. And I think if he was just to calm things down a bit, a tad, a bit like Kinski, just don't rush it, have a bit of composure, I think he'd be better off for it.
Yeah, you're probably right there. But, with what you're saying as well, you look at the flip side to his game, saved us on a number of occasions where it could have been 2-3 potentially in the first 20 minutes or so. So he definitely earned his money in that situations. But, yeah, I totally agree. He needs to be getting better on the floor with his passing. And I think it's something we've noticed over the last couple of weeks as well, where his playing out the back potentially sometimes can leave a lot to be desired for. And his long passing needs to be getting a lot better. But that's just not his game as well. That's just not the keeper he is. And this is our keeper, and this is the way we play. So maybe we need to make a few kind of changes, because we've got a keeper here who's part of the leadership group, who's our number one for the foreseeable future. And his game isn't really kind of playing out the back.
Well, we bought him as a keeper because he was not bad at playing out the back. He was part of the reason.
It's not his game though. Like his main attribute is his shot stopping.
Yeah, but he was also, I remember when we signed him, he was like, "Oh, I like to play out the back. I like to be, attacking and things like that." So I think that was part of the reason we signed him as well, was because he's quite good at playing out the back. Now it turns out he's not elite at playing out the back. Yeah. He's just good. He's like okay. He's like pretty good. I actually don't think he's bad, but he's not on the elite levels of the other keepers.
But you not think, like, if you're going to play this kind of brand of football and you're consistently going to play it out the back, you need a goalkeeper that's elite at playing out the back.
I think it definitely helps. Do you need a keeper that's like the most elite? I don't think what we ask of our keepers is beyond a Vicario, is my point. I don't think so. I think Vicario can do the job. I just think he needs to make a few adjustments and improve a few things. But I think from what we ask our keepers, I think Vicario is capable of it.
Number 3 is Sarr's improving. Yeah, definitely. Last couple of games has definitely been a step in the right direction.
And a much better performance again. Obviously got his goal in this game, but it was a much better performance from him compared to some of his other performances in recent weeks. And he won 5 of his 10 ground duels, 2 out of 4 aerial duels, 3 tackles, 2 interceptions. Obviously did get a goal. He did miss a really good opportunity, which was set up by Maddison. But compared to definitely his other midfield partners, he was definitely a bit of a cut above the rest. And when you're looking at someone who's looking to create,
much though, is it?
Well, when you're looking for someone to create, he did have 3 key passes on the day. So he was the one who was actually forcing the issue and actually trying to create in that middle of the park compared to Bissouma and Bentancur. So fair play to Sarr, much better performance for himself and compared to the other ones as well.
Yeah, he needs this kind of run now, and I feel like he should get a run in the team off the back of it, because you're looking at Bentancur 2 up and down, you're looking at Bissouma 2 up and down, and Sarr, you could say the same about him, but I think the last couple of performances now are definitely steps in the right direction. So I think he got a start on Thursday night alongside a Bergvall. Probably Bergvall in the 6 with Sarr playing as the box-to-box. So, yeah, I'm happy with what I'm seeing from Sarr at the moment. But let's be honest, like, in terms of comparing him to the other midfielders on the pitch yesterday, not much to go on. Number 4 is subs changed the game.
Yeah, and I think definitely Angel's a bit more proactive in this game with his substitutions, making 2 at half-time and 2 on the hour mark compared to maybe what he's done previously, which is like leave it to 65 and before making his subs. And for sure, having Son and Bergvall at half-time definitely helped change the game, in my opinion. Sonny coming on, creating 1 key pass, obviously scoring his penalty, hitting the post as well, and obviously causing a nuisance of himself. I think Lucas Bergvall was an unbelievable change, winning 5 of his ground duels, was really impressive in the middle of the park, hitting the post, and obviously led to a lot more composure in the middle of the park, 92% passing accuracy compared to the likes of Bissouma and Bentancur, who got dispossessed a lot more than he did. But as well, on the hour mark, I thought James Maddison came on, really provided a lot more creativity in the middle of the park, and also in his ground duels, won 4 of his 6 ground duels when he came on, while also providing 2 key passes and the pass for the penalty, while also Van de Ven late in the game, all same time as Maddison, provided a bit more of a safety blanket at the back line. So I think clearly, again, those subs came on. They really benefited us. They really changed the game. And again, it's more proof that when he has his squad, I think it's really helped us kind of in second halves when I think for a lot of the season between December and like February time, we just weren't able to make these kind of changes in the second half, and it really hampered us.
Yeah, it's true. The subs definitely changed the game, and it's no surprise if you bring on the quality two guys in our leadership group in Maddison and Sonny, and we all know the qualities that these guys have, and the emerging Lucas Bergvall as well. So you bring on these kind of three players when you're looking at the starting lineup, where it has little to no creativity in the middle of the park, and then you add in a Bergvall, you add in a Maddison, you add in the danger out on the left with Son Heung-min. It was no surprise to me that we were going to start creating chances, because the first half we literally, I don't know, what was the XG for us in the first half? It must have been nothing, literally.
0.4.
0.4, and then the second half was, well, we did get a penalty as well, so I guess it's not even that different, to be fair, in terms of the XG.
Well, the penalty was well earned, so.
Yeah, I guess. But look, it's no surprise to me that those changes were the changes to kind of bring the momentum in our favour. Credit to Ange for bringing them on, but I don't think it takes a kind of genius to do that. Last but not least is Ange's tactical tweak.
Yeah, and there was one little thing I think I noticed about the game yesterday with Sonny when he came off the bench, especially when Maddison came on. When Sonny was on the pitch for the first 50 minutes, he was very much stuck a bit to the left hand side. But when Maddison came on, if you look at his heat map, he's actually very, very central, and actually he was playing quite close to Dom Solanke at times in that second half, and Maddison was kind of playing a bit behind him compared to maybe when Maddison was off before, he was kind of playing on the left-hand side. So I think if you look at also where he won the penalty, making a very central run behind the kind of Bournemouth backline, which obviously got him in behind in a very dangerous central area. So I think there was a little bit of a tactical tweak there with Ange playing Solanke kind of alongside Son and playing Maddison in behind, and I think that kind of actually really benefited us and got us back in the game.
Yeah, I would like to see that more often, because you remember under Jose when Kane and Son used to have that dynamic relationship with each other, where they used to play pretty much up top with each other, where Kane would do the hold-up play and play Sonny in behind. I reckon if you get Solanke in that kind of positions, I reckon they could have not the same relationship, because obviously Kane is just 20 times the player in those kind of areas of the pitch than Solanke is. But I did think we can create maybe a similar dynamic. But anyway,
I agree.
That is your 5 takeaways. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We're going to move on to the reacts in a second, but my computer's taking ages for it to load, so just give me 1 second.
Oh, I've also got a problem. What's going on?
Is there an internet issue?
One sec. Yeah, it seems to have a problem here.
Stay with us, guys.
All right.
Are you in?
I'm fine, so I'm connected to Ethernet.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I've got no internet as well. Let me try.
I can't get onto it. Maybe we'll do the update first and go back to this, because we do have a Tottenham update for you guys as well. So once we line that up, we'll just get that cracking.
Why should we even be praising someone like Ange? Said Julius R. A bit harsh.
Praising him for what? Who's praising him?
If he deserves praise, he'll get praise.
All right, I'm back on the internet. I can go back to reacts now. All right, let's just do the update.
No, we can.
Well, let's just do the update. It's ready. All right, well, let's get into a Tottenham update. The last 24 hours of Tottenham news. And we're going to start off talking about the medical team because...
What medical team?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's been a post from Cuti Romero at the end of the game yesterday, and he says, after a difficult period and full of things that happened in the middle, I am back with the group and happy to be able to help the team. Surely there is a lot to correct and work on. We are together and eager to reverse the situation. See you on Thursday. We'll come back stronger than ever. All together, Spurs official. And then at the end of it, he says, I'm grateful to the physios of Argentina for getting me out of a bad time and putting me back on the court where I'm happy. Thank you all for the support as always. Which I thought was strange. And I was like, where's the thanks to the Spurs medical team?
Yeah.
And then there's been a report coming out of Brazil this morning saying that Tottenham star Richarlison is the latest player decided to seek medical advice away from the football club on his injury status. Richarlison is understood to be speaking to a consultant in Brazil for help. And that follows on that we heard about Van de Ven seeking outside kind of advice in Spain as well. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, what is this medical staff being paid for? It's an absolute shambles at this football club.
Every single player seems to need to go to get outside help to help with their injuries.
It's madness.
And like how we should be, obviously we're a $1 billion football club. We should be investing, I'm sure we do invest millions and millions and millions of dollars into our medical department, and yet we're not equipped to handle these players when they've got certain injury problems in certain situations. They feel like they're forced to go externally and go to see other doctors in other countries. And I understand, maybe like Van de Ven, maybe that's a very specific issue, and maybe that needs a specialist, which we for some reason don't have. But when it's happening more often than not, it's almost like when your school's not teaching you enough and you need a home tutor. You know what I mean? It's like, how can we not be able to handle these situations within our own medical department with the amount of money we invest? It's seriously concerning, and this is what we talk about when a lot of people complain about the medical department. A lot of people say there's problems there. Well, I think it's there for all to see. Of these players don't seem to trust this medical department, and they keep seeking external support. And again, like, where's all this money going to that they invest in it if it's not able to help our own players?
It's actually embarrassing. I've never actually heard of a Premier League team with such bad medical staff. And you're thinking about a club with these facilities that we've got, with the training ground, with the stadium, with all the infrastructure they're building around the stadium. And it's pretty much similar, maybe not to the same extent, but with what's happening on the pitch, it's happening with the staff off the pitch as well. And it's just like, can you not get the best in class like you do with all the facilities that you have? If you have the best facilities, you've got to fill it with the best staff to run the facilities. It's madness.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that that these players feel the need to do this, to be honest. And I feel bad. I feel bad for the players if they feel like these medical staff is incompetent. I also feel bad for the coaching staff if they feel like they don't have adequate medical care for a lot of these players and they keep getting injured. There's big problems here. I know we've said they've they've opened the door for a new head of medical and all this kind of stuff. So maybe it'll change in time. But right now it seems as though none of these players they don't think they're fit for purpose.
And you know what as well, like, Mourinho's came out and said stuff about the medical team. Conte obviously was saying stuff about the medical team as well. But if I'm right, the medical team has been changed, like, after all these managers.
Yeah.
So, everyone that they hire seems to be getting worse and worse and worse.
It's ridiculous. Sort your medical team out, Tottenham. It's not hard. I don't know how hard it is, but it might be hard, but just sort it out.
Next up, we're going to talk about 3 potential transfers. One from a publication, the ever-reliable Team Talk. And they say Chelsea have now joined Tottenham in the race for Feyenoord centre-back David Hanko this summer. Good ball-playing centre-back, can play at left-back as well if need be. And these are the kind of players that we've been calling for, not in terms of him specifically, but a player in that position that can provide a left centre back and also at left back.
Yeah, we were linked to him in January as well. I kind of feel like we won't go for him now because we got Danso. So I feel like we'll probably go for someone else rather than him. But he's definitely one that kind of fits the profile. I really like the look of him.
But Danso's not a natural left-sided centre-back.
I know, but I think if we're gonna, I feel like if we're gonna sign another centre back, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be Hanko. Especially, I'm saying my thinking is if like Romero leaves, I don't know if like if we sign someone like Hanko, I think we'll probably go for someone else potentially. But I think he would have been in like that kind of Danso role in a sense of a cheaper centre back who's potentially could play second fiddle to Romero and Van der Ven, but also good enough to step in, that kind of role. I feel like if we sell Romero, I'm going to get another one. We'll probably spend maybe a bit more money potentially. I'm feeling.
I don't know. Like he'll still cost kind of like a significant fee, Hanko.
Will he? Isn't he like 28? I don't know how much he's going to cost.
He's 27.
27.
His market value here on the transfer market is 35 million euros. So you're thinking probably 40 million or something euros.
Yeah, potentially. I guess it is fairly significant. I guess. Similar to what we paid, I guess, for Dragashin.
Yeah. We forget we have Dragashin.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
out for so long now, but I mean, whenever we talk about the centre-back options, obviously he's not an option right now, but I'm talking about in the future.
I know, but we've got to wait a year for that to be.
Yeah.
Pretty much near the end of next. We're probably not going to see him until
probably
the
January
end of next
time.
Could be, as in at his best though. Could potentially be the end of next season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Court Offside are claiming that Tottenham are set to make a bid of around £35 million for Antoine Semenyo. I mean, £35 million won't get you his right leg?
Yeah, I don't think enough to get Semenyo out of Bournemouth. He's a really good player. I like Semenyo. Fits in Bournemouth like a glove the way he plays. So good at taking people on. Real good striker of the ball as well. I would like him at Tottenham. I think would be a perfect kind of versatile kind of forward. I just don't see us paying the money potentially.
And last but not least, Court Offside also claiming that Jonathan David is keen on a move to England this summer when his contract ends at Lille, with Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea and Newcastle all vying for his signature. In terms of those clubs, Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea and Newcastle, you'd probably say what? We're third on the pecking order there? Particularly if Isaac leaves Newcastle.
If Isaac leaves, yeah. I think I think for sure he'd be up there because I think he's actually quite a similar kind of striker to Isaac. Man United, he could definitely be number one striker there with the strikers they've got. Chelsea battling out with Jackson. Obviously, Nkunku could leave. And then there's us. We've got Solanke.
I reckon Jackson will probably start off as number one striker, but I think David by the end of the season, or maybe even halfway through, will probably be over him.
Yeah, potentially. So, yeah, I don't know who or which one he would prefer to go to. Obviously, we potentially won't have European football. A lot could depend on, let's say Man United aren't in Europe and we are. I think then he probably would rather come to us potentially.
I think he picks Chelsea or Newcastle over us.
I don't know about Newcastle. I think because London's still a big pool. But I think Chelsea.
Yeah, but you know those nights out in Newcastle on the time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that'll convince him. I think we would be above Newcastle. I think Chelsea. Yeah,
I don't think we would be above Newcastle.
I think we would.
Particularly like with maybe the wages that they'll offer him with Isaac potentially going. Like let's say Liverpool sign Isaac for 120 million or whatever it may be.
Well, we can't assume now. If we have to assume right now that Isaac's staying.
Well, I mean, with his comments a few weeks ago, it just seemed like he wants out.
Yeah, but we don't. It's going to take a lot of money. We don't know if anyone's going to stump it up. Like if he's going to stay in Newcastle, I think we're still a better choice for him. I think.
I mean, I reckon Liverpool could do it. I mean, didn't they put in a monstrous bid for Caicedo not long ago?
I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying we have to assume right now that he's staying in Newcastle.
Okay. But yeah, that's Jonathan David. Spurs going to be interested in, but we'll see what happens there. But that is your Tottenham update. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Would you like to see David Semenyo or David Hanko at the club? And let's finish off on reacts. Yeah, let's finish off on reacts and see how the internet did react to the 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. And first up is Blue Deer, just with a few love emojis, with SONNY, with Van der Ven and Lucas Bergvall.
Lovely moment after the end of the game. I'm sure they're happy to have Van der Ven and Romero back on the pitch. You can see that, which is really, really, really nice. But Yeah, I'm sure there's a bit of disappointment we didn't win the game, but at least they're getting back to full fitness, and we know how big players they're going to be till the end of the season. So great to have them back on, and Sonny showing them some love.
Paul O'Keefe says, only 15 players in the history of the Premier League have scored more goals than Son Heung-min.
How mad is that?
That is mad.
That's a mad stat. Only 15 players. Bona fide Premier League legend.
The guy's a legend. The guy's a legend. And
Not
I just
a
feel
Tottenham legend, though.
I feel so bad. I just feel so bad that
He plays for Tottenham.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm so sorry, Sonny.
Such a top quality player, and he's going to end up his career with nothing.
I mean, apart from the Europa League this season.
Yeah, right. He's going to end his career with nothing. Like, Kane was lucky he got out when he could, and he could potentially win the Bundesliga. It looks like he's going to win the Bundesliga this year, and maybe even the Champions League. But Sonny, I just feel so bad for Sonny, because he literally put all his eggs on the table when he signed that new contract under Nuno.
Eggs on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And he put all his eggs in the Tottenham basket. And unfortunately, that basket isn't paying off at the moment.
The price for loyalty, huh? Paul O'Keefe as well says, he came on, hit the post, won a pen and scored. Would you like him to pop round and make your tea? What do you want?
That was a response to someone saying he's been awful. Saying Paul O'Keefe said that comment about 15 players in history. He said, except yet again he's been awful. So Paul O'Keefe.
I just can't stand this constant digging out of Son.
These people who make fail comps of Son, like, what are you doing?
I've never seen one.
Yeah, for the last few games, people are just like basically picking out all his worst moments, making compilations.
You can literally do that for any player.
100%. And I don't understand why the need to dig in on a player who's been so loyal, who's our captain, who loves the club so much, who's still a quality player, and you feel the need to kind of dig him out for some reason or try and kind of make him seem rubbish and like try and put him down. I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's mind-boggling to me. Why would, of anyone, Sonny doesn't deserve that treatment. He's like the last person in the world who deserves that treatment. I don't understand why anyone would want to treat him that way and want to treat him like he's not wanted here. It's ridiculous.
And then you got certain man as well, like digging into Son every week and heralding Emerson Royale as the king of football.
Don't understand.
I mean, I've never seen something so muddy before in my life, where you basically will stick up for Emerson Royale in anything that he does and then berate Son week in, week out. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, baffling.
Zeus 1882 says, did love that Son pen though, ice cold, no fucks given.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was it's good because he missed a penalty against Wolves, and I was a bit worried, is he going to come into this with a bit of nerves? Is he going to slot it away? But calmness personified. Didn't even think twice about it. Lovely little dink and send the keeper the wrong way.
That Tottenham feed says, no other midfielder in our squad is matching that young man's performance levels recently, playing way beyond his years and experience. That is so spot on.
Yeah, and this guy is getting better and better and better. I'm just absolutely loving Bergwijn. He's so great to watch as well. This guy, we've done so well to get him, honestly. We have done amazingly, and he's really developing like I wouldn't have dreamed. If you were telling me he'd be playing like this at this stage, I wouldn't have believed you. I think he's been outstanding. I think it's been a phenomenal first season so far, and this guy is a real star in the making. Really believe
Would
that.
you say he's our young player of the year at this moment in time, or would you give it to Archie Gray? It's between them two, isn't it?
I feel bad for Gray because as much as I love him and I think he's done brilliant, he's just, because he's playing out of position, he's still a bit limited in how good he's been able to play. Whereas Bergwijn, because he's playing in his position, you just see him flourishing. Whereas Gray's playing well under the circumstances. He's not playing like Bergwijn is playing well for a midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like Gray is playing well because he's playing out of position, but as just a Premier League centre back, he's actually not been great. But he's been great under the circumstances.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And yeah, Bergwijn. Do you remember how excited we were when we signed him?
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, yeah, in a couple of years, this guy's going to be a decent player for us.
But he's been incredible right
Mad.
now. The development has been quick, and he's really taken to the Premier League. Physically, he's just ready for it, isn't he? Now take on all comers, bouncing off players, and the quality he has. This guy is an absolute star.
Yeah. Hotspur Report says, great to have you back, Mickey. And it really was great. The stadium was buzzing to see Mickey van der Ven back on the pitch yesterday. And great to see his marauding runs. I would have liked to see it a bit less yesterday, to be honest, because wanted him to ease his way back into action. But look, it was good to see them.
He's got to run at some point.
Yeah, I know. But
everyone's like, don't run, don't run. It's like,
I know.
He's got to start running. He can't just go through his whole thing. Like,
it just fills you with so much anxiety when you see him run. But yeah, let's just hope we can get a good performance out of him on Thursday night.
For sure. And hopefully he's now fit to the end of the season. That's what we've got to cross our fingers. Hopefully maybe he doesn't go away on international duty and can maybe have a bit of a rest there. Or, I don't know, maybe it'll be a good thing for him to go away and get a bit more game time. And maybe that'll lead him being a bit fresher for us. So it's a hard one to kind of judge.
Yeah, I think that will be the case with Coutinho Romero. Like Romero, I think for the first time, I'm happy for him to go to Argentina for international duty because he actually needs the game time, Romero.
I agree.
Dave Ellis says, what a breath of fresh air Bergvall was coming on yesterday. Fearless, ballsy, hungry for the ball and busting a gut to try to get things going. I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater, but that was enough to get my respect and have someone in the side I can get behind.
He is going to be a world beater.
100%.
What are you saying, man?
That's the only thing I can't agree with in that comment.
Come on, this guy there's so much to be excited about, really. There's so much.
Next up, Rising Stars 11. Another glowing report for Luca Vuskovic coming out of Belgium yesterday against Anderlecht. So another top team in Belgium where he's having a top performance in. 14 clearances, 4 box shots, 94% passing accuracy, 31 passes completed, 100% ground duels won, which is 3, 100% aerial duels won, which is 4, 100% successful dribbles, which was 1, and 2 out of 3 successful long balls, which is our rising star, Luca Vuskovic, man of the match. A clean sheet and man of the match performance against Anderlecht.
Phenomenal. What a star in the making is. He seems to be impressing week on week and doing that against the best team or one of the best teams in Belgium. No mean feat. No mean feat. And getting man of the match, getting a clean sheet, dominant in the air like he always is. This guy is honestly, I can't wait for him to be in a Spurs shirt.
Yeah. Next up is from Lyndon. Change for Spurs says, great to get all the banners on show yesterday at the game, including the 2 new ones. Sunday, the 6th of April, so he's advertising the next protest, which will be against Southampton at home.
But is that the next home game? Yeah. The next home game?
In league, yeah. I think so. So these were the banners. There is no passion here. This is purely financial. That's a quote from Daniel Levy in 2001. Built a business.
Ariel says he is Spurs.
Ariel doesn't know what he's talking about. The other one says, built a business, killed a football club. The other one is, our game is about glory. Levy's game is about greed. And the other one is the 24 years, 16 managers, 1 trophy, time for change.
The only thing is, build a business, killed a football club. I don't know if I agree with that.
Elaborate.
I think, from the footballing point of view, it's a lot better than it was before he took over, isn't it?
Kind of feels like we're back to where he is. Really.
Yeah, right now we are, but it won't be. I don't think we'll stay here for in terms of bottom half. It'll change. We'll be back to, But what you're saying, this used to be the norm, didn't it? Where we are now.
Yeah, when we are. Well, yeah, I guess it did used to be the norm for sure.
And so now it's the exception.
Now, yes, but also you look at it. He built a club into consistent Champions League football. Now we've had Champions League football once in the last 5 years, once in the last 6 years. Now is it 5 years?
Once since 2019,
and it's very likely that it could be no European football twice in the last 3 years.
Yeah,
and that is clear regression in terms of we've been consistent European football since Enoch have taken to the helm, and
that's my point.
Yeah,
we've been consistent European football since they've been at the helm.
Yeah, and that's going down now. It could be 2 years without European football in the last 3.
Yeah, I understand that, but that that's 2 of the last 3 out of 20 years.
Yeah,
24 years. That's right now. Before that, you just got to remember before that how much it was a dream just to be in Europe. Remember, we were like, oh my God, we're actually to forget Champions League, just Europe.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe even being in Europe. So, you know, to just say, you know, that's got nothing to do with them or anything like that. Like they've killed the football club. I don't know if they've killed it. We're not doing well at the moment, and I would like them to move on. I don't think they've got what it takes to.
We haven't done well for a number of years.
Yeah, I understand that, and I agree with you. I don't mind them moving on, but to say they've killed the football club as if like there's nothing here now. There's something here. There is something here. I still believe that.
Doesn't feel like that when you're on the stands. I'll tell you that.
I don't blame. Yeah, because we're in bad form. I think anyone in bad form feels that way. But I don't know if they killed the football club. I wouldn't go that far.
What does it take to kill a football club, I guess?
What does it take to kill a football club?
What does killing a football club even mean?
Yeah, I guess whatever you think it means. I guess, yeah.
Next up is those quotes from Cuti Romero after the game yesterday, where he was mentioning that he had to go back to Argentina to he's thanking the Argentina medical team for getting him back to full health.
So what if you're part of the Spurs medical team, how would you feel reading that post?
I must feel like I'm not doing my job well enough, pretty much. Like it's a clear kind of.
What about disrespected?
Disrespected? I mean, the players should feel more disrespected that the club can't employ a competent medical team.
But imagine you're part of the medical team, and I'm sure they've been doing some work. I'm sure they're not just leaving him alone, like, say, hey, you can do it yourself. Like, I'm sure they're doing something, and to get no credit for that, as much as whatever, they might be incompetent, and that's true, but I'm sure they don't feel like they're incompetent. I'm sure they feel like they're doing their job, and to read that and feel like you're not being appreciated at all, and they're saying thank you to a completely different medical team when they're the ones I'm sure he's been dealing with. I'm sure they must not sit right with them. I have a feeling. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying if you're part of that medical team, I wonder how they're reacting to that. It must be strange.
They're probably reacting to it with their P45s. That's probably how they're reacting to it, and that's the way they should be reacting to it. They should be fired on the spot if they're not fired already. I don't know what the situation is behind the scenes, but they're clearly not good enough. Players need to go outside to seek medical advice when, you know, they should be dealing with it all in-house. I mean, the whole thing's pretty much a joke, and if they're hurt by it, and if they're looking at these comments being like, oh, you guys hurt my feelings, then who cares really?
Yeah, and I'm not saying anything that's wrong. I'm just saying I wonder if that can create some tension there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the reality is whether it creates tension or not, they shouldn't be in the job and they should be fired anyway. So let's hope.
I mean, we're saying this. We have no idea. I mean, clearly there's a problem with the medical side. I'm not going to call for them to be fired, but clearly there's problems because I don't know what's the ins and outs. I'm not a medical professional, but
but you know that players are consistently trying to seek help. Outside of Tottenham, so clearly they're not good enough.
Well, yeah, or maybe that. I mean, for us, that seems like the case, but we don't really know. Let's be honest. We're just theorising, and we're just speculating. But for me, if we spend so much money on our in-house medical team and they can't service these players, then I think clearly they're not kind of set up for purpose. But we don't know that for sure. Or what could potentially be the problem is these guys need specialists for very specific things, and we don't have that capability because we don't have those kind of specialists. I don't know, like Van der Ven with his running style and hamstring thing, he needed a very specific specialist for that. Maybe that's with Richarlison, maybe he needs a specialist. I don't know that. I would theorise that we spend enough money that they should be a specialist in our own medical team. That's what I would think, but I don't know that for sure. Maybe if I spoke to medical teams and they would say it's common practice for most medical teams in all the other grounds, all of the teams, it's always like this, and it's nothing special for a player to go seek external advice. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing special. I don't really know the ins and outs. That's my only point. So I can't sit here and say he should be fired. Maybe he should. From my point of view, I don't understand. I don't really understand why they wouldn't have the capabilities, but I don't really know for sure, do I? So that's all I'm saying. But I just wonder where this happening here This is a very specific thing. This is a very specific message on social media where he is thanking people for getting him back to full fitness, and he hasn't mentioned the Spurs medical team. So I do wonder, like, how they'll react to that. How, if there's talk in the dressing room with this, and how if that will cause tension between some of the players in the medical team, and how the club was going to deal with that, or if it's just much made about nothing, and he saw a specialist in Argentina and that's who he's thanking. I don't know.
I think the medical team are pony and the players don't trust them. That's what I think.
Yeah, that might be true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying we don't know for sure.
Well, I think we have heard things behind the scenes that could allude to that. So I think that what I was saying is absolutely spot on, and I don't think they're fit for purpose, and I think they do need to be fired, and then there needs to be a whole restructuring of the medical team where everything gets dealt with in-house, apart from specific situations, and it can't be every injury is a specific situation.
I'm not saying it is. I don't know. You're probably right. If I was to guess, I would say you're probably right. But obviously we're not there. We just don't know. Like, maybe Romero's injury was a very specific thing. I don't know. I don't know what exactly the ins and outs are. I think Ange makes a good point when he was talking on the press conference before the game, talking about, someone asked him about Van de Ven and Romero. Why haven't they played sooner? All these different things. Why haven't you brought them in sooner? And he says people like to make all these judgments, but they got 5% of the information that I do. And I think that's true. I think we make all these judgments and assertions, but let's be honest, we really don't have all the information that these guys have. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth.
Yeah, it is true.
But we talk like we do.
Yeah,
I know it's the name of the game. I'm just saying, yeah. But when it comes to calling for people to lose their jobs when we only have 5% of the information, I'm just,
Yeah, we might have 5% of the information, but again, we have heard things behind the scenes from pretty reliable sources, which I'm not exactly going to come out here and name them, which I know is no help to the viewers, but it kind of does suggest the fact of what we've been saying or what I've been saying.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's still not the full picture as well, but still, it's only a bit, yeah.
No, but it's a very clear picture from a certain individual from inside the camp.
Yeah.
SZY Comp says, credit is heavily due. Would have been another embarrassment without him today, and that is down to Vicario. And it seems like we're saying this week in, week out.
Yeah, obviously the saves in the beginning of the game very much kept us in it, and that was really, really crucial. But again, apart from those two saves early on, I don't remember too many great saves he had to make.
Well, the two early on were pretty significant.
Yeah, but that can happen. That can happen early on,
especially to Spurs.
Like, I remember I'm watching Chelsea play Southampton, and first minute, what's his name, Sanchez or Jorgensen, he had to make an unbelievable save to stop Southampton being 1-0 down. But Chelsea being 1-0 down, but doesn't mean that's what that was. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that can happen early in a game, but it has happened a few times
in the last 3 Premier League games. Probably if we have another goalkeeper in goal that's not so good at shot stopping, we probably lose them all by... I don't know if we lose the Ipswich game because we ended up scoring 4 that day, but we could have been easily 2 or 3 down early on in that game. Man City in the first half, we could have been out of sight, really. And in this game, we could have been 1 or 2 down in the opening few minutes.
Yeah, we have a good keeper.
Yeah,
exactly. It's not lucky.
And that's the point.
But it's not lucky we have a good keeper. It's good recruitment.
Yeah. Do you say... No one said it's lucky. Credit is heavily due. It would have been another embarrassment.
I know, but I just feel like people would imply just because he has to make a few saves that it's always lucky. But he's just good. You know what I mean?
It's good also, but sometimes on another day with better finishing, it could have been a different story.
But he's consistently making those saves, though, so maybe he's just that good.
Yeah. No, true. Opta Joe says 26. Today was the 26th different time at the Tottenham Hotspur that Tottenham Hotspur have been 2+ goals down in the Premier League match and came back to salvage it to at least a point, which is 9 wins and 17 draws, with only Man United doing more so on occasions in the history of the competition, which they've done it at 30 occasions.
Wow.
Spirit.
So we have as much spirit as the great Man United team.
Yeah, that's what
fantastic.
Felon 8.
We're just missing the 13 Premier League titles.
That's it.
That's all we're missing.
We're just missing 1 Premier League title. Felon 82 says Spurs have won 5 home Premier League games all season. Lost 7, drawn 3. We're 2-0 down, should have been about 4. And Ange says the atmosphere wasn't great. Some of the most expensive tickets in football to see 5 wins in 15. He should be thankful the fans aren't ripping up the seats.
Yeah, I get the sentiment. The atmosphere wasn't great. He wasn't saying. I don't think he was blaming the fans for the atmosphere not being great. I think he was just stating a fact that we were 2-0 down and the atmosphere wasn't great, so it wasn't easy to play it, which I think it's just a factual statement. But yeah, I think all the other stuff. He's absolutely right. I think it's 1 win in 10. I think it is at home. 5 wins in 15.
5 wins in 15 is embarrassing, man.
It is embarrassing.
No matter injury crisis, no injury crisis, that should never be the case.
I mean, yeah, for sure. No, well, I'd like to think that anyway.
Right, look at the some of the teams we've lost to at home this year.
Yeah.
Ipswich, there was barely an injury crisis. Leicester, what's the stat with Leicester? They've lost 13 out of their last 14 with 1 win coming at Tottenham.
Yeah.
Embarrassing, man.
Nearly got a point at Chelsea there yesterday.
Oh, wow. Lily White Rose says, Sonny has received a lot of criticism, rightly so, only right to the point. Sonny has received a lot of criticism recently, so only right to point out what a massive difference he made in the second half yesterday, causing Bournemouth problems, winning and scoring the equaliser.
Yeah, and I think he made a really good impact, and it was really great to see him in that kind of form again, difference between him against RZ in this game was stark, wasn't it? Because RZ wasn't great, and this one comes off the bench and changes the game.
Yeah. Next one is from Blue Deer saying, my face while watching the games this season. Literally, that's what the whole stadium
Each
looks
one,
like.
yeah, no, it's just depressing.
Look at Solanke's one.
That was when he first joined. He was like, what the fuck am I joining?
Look at Romero's one. God. And Richarlison as well. That was like me the whole game yesterday. When will it end? Carly on you Spurs says, I rate this so highly from Pape.
So there's a video. I think it's him celebrating before he even takes the penalty. He's that confident Sonny was going to score. Could have gone wrong there, Pape. You're ordering classic Tottenham if he misses and we got counter-attack. Pape still bloody gas to get up and get on the ground. What am I doing? He's that confident, he risked it, and it paid off.
Squawk Alive says, Son Heung-min has now scored the same amount of Premier League goals as Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and more than Robbie Keane. Only 15 players have scored more in the competition history, which is mad. More than Robbie Keane.
Crazy. I wonder how many games difference as well there. But
there's got to be a significant amount of games less than Robbie Keane, because Robbie Keane
less than Keane.
Yeah, you would think so. No, didn't Robbie Keane?
Well,
didn't Robbie Keane play his whole career in the Premier League, bar in his stint at Inter Milan?
Yeah, but he was kind of done by like 28.
Was he?
Yeah, because he played Celtic, didn't he, for a bit?
Celtic, yeah.
Let's see, he's played how many appearances? What's the total? 349.
Well, maybe it is similar.
And Son, 328. So 30 less appearances. Still pretty good. And Keane was a pretty good goal scorer.
Yeah.
He was a pretty good goal scorer, Robbie Keane. Especially when before we saw him to Liverpool, he's consistently getting 20 goals.
Yeah, that Liverpool move ruined his career, didn't it?
Yeah, completely.
Tadare is to do saying, and with this goal, Son has 11 goals and 10 assists in all comps, 21 goals and assists, and he's the leading club GA bagsman.
But hey, he's washed.
Yeah, absolutely washed.
Come on, Sonny. He's still providing so much, and I think he's our top goal contributor now in all comps. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good end to the season. He could even hit 25, maybe potentially closer to 30. So let's hope he gets close to that.
Kane from the Lane says, successful teams in 23-24 season. Champions League winner Madrid, long-term manager. Europa League winner Atalanta, long-term manager. Prem, City, long-term manager. La Liga, Madrid, long-term manager. Serie A, Inter, long-term manager. Successful teams back a manager. That's why they're successful. Be patient.
Yeah, I think it's a fair comment, but it's also, you have to realise that these managers, were never 13th. So I think that's also a fair comment. I think also apart from Atalanta, their manager's been there how long now? A long time.
Gasparini.
Yeah, he's been there very long. All these teams are. I think on the flip side to what I'm saying, these teams have never been 13.
They're all elite teams.
They're all really good teams who have won things in recent past, even before these managers were there. So these managers aren't coming here, looking to change it into a winning mentality and stuff. They're just trying to build on the club's history. Like the fans act like we're. I know third team, so I guess it's a bit different, but we do act like we're like this club who like wins things all the time, which we're not. We're just not that team, and we never have been. We need to become that.
Not in anyone's lifetime, anyway.
No. Unlike these teams that are that.
Yeah, no, it's true. That is absolutely spot on. But it's just, I think it's just a major frustration within the fan base, because a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of percentage, but the younger lot of this fan base, right, would have grown up with the Pochettino team, right? So they would have thought that's kind of normal.
Yeah.
So when you grow up with the Pochettino team, when you're on the cusp of success, when you're getting into Champions League final, to what you've seen in the last 5 years, obviously there's going to be disgruntlement. For me, someone that has seen...
Oh, you're not disgruntled at all, are you?
That's what I'm about to come to. For me, someone that has seen part of the 90s, and then I've seen a clear growth in the club from Martin Jol up till now, and to see us all just chuck that away so easily with, things could have been done to keep us at that level. Just makes me kind of disgruntled and disillusioned with everything.
Yeah, I think everyone's disgruntled. I think, look, when you're in the position we are, no one's really happy with the situation. I think everyone's going to be disgruntled, whether it's because you expect us to be Champions League regulars like the younger guys, or you've been patient for 30, 40 years like the older guys. Everyone is just... everyone's really disgruntled.
But then there's another section of the fan base who are kind of like the older lot, who be like, oh yeah, but always hark back to the 90s, saying, oh, you don't remember the 90s, you don't remember how bad it was, the club that Levy took over and everything, and look where we are now, look at the size of the club and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, like, I feel like these guys just lack a bit of ambition.
Yeah, maybe. I think when it comes to that, you're right. I think when we have had moments and times, and especially right now, we need to push on and go make that step from a team that's challenging for Europe to a team that's challenging for titles. And it seems as though this board and hierarchy either don't know how to do it or are unwilling to do what's necessary to do it. Either way is not a good look on them, in my opinion. It could be both. Potentially is both. So I think a lot of these people who make the statements you make are more of the kind of thinking of better the devil you know than the devil you don't. In that sense, because they have increased the profile of the club, and we're in this different stratosphere, and they deserve credit for that, for where we are as a club right now. But how much longer can we stay at this stage without we wanting to move on from that and want more for yourself or more for the club? But from their point of view, it's like, well, they've got us to this stage, and we don't know who's going to come in and change that or guarantee to change it, unless it's like a nation state or all these different things, which a lot of people aren't comfortable with anyway. And whoever wants to come in, aren't they going to want to make a profit, most of them, unless you find some unbelievably rich person who's just going to be in it for the glory and not going to be in it for the money? And where are those going to pop up from? They're hard to find. So I understand that as well. So it's a complicated issue.
Yeah, it is a complicated issue, but like, I think Spurs are like extremely frugal in terms of the wage spend and all that kind of stuff that we've been over a million times. I feel like we don't even need to push the boat out in terms of spending 100 million on each and every player and spending 97% of our turnover on wages and blah blah blah. But we can push the boat out a lot more than we have done without putting ourselves in jeopardy, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well.
Hugo Films says, the only thing I have to say about yesterday's game, he is our Ericsson regen. I don't care if he goes silent for 60 minutes. He has to play every single minute. The only player we have who can create chances out of nothing. This is a world-class player. Talking about James Maddison.
High praise.
Eriksen regen? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I think Eriksen at his best was much better than Maddison, in my opinion. Although Eriksen also had his games where he was quiet as well, but I just feel like Eriksen was a bit more consistent with his output for sure in terms of goals and assists, and I think he as well was a bit better off the ball potentially than Maddison in terms of the amount of running he would do for the team. So I don't know about Eriksen regen. I do think Maddison doesn't get the credit he deserves from this fan base. I think he does a lot of good work, which goes unnoticed. And if he hasn't got a goal or an assist, everyone just wants to say he's had a bad game. Well, I don't think it's always true. But he does go missing in a lot of games, and he needs to work on that as well.
Yeah, Eriksen, like, he was so disrespected off the ball. Like, he used to do the most running out of everyone in that team, which is, you know, you had a lot of runners on that team, right? And I feel like Eriksen gets disrespected by this fan base consistently for what he did for this football club in that stretch of time. Like, I feel like because of the way it ended, people kind of just like cast him aside a little bit. But genuinely, I genuinely believe like he is one of the best 10s in the Premier League. Like the Premier League has seen. Like, if you got the De Bruynes and you know, the Lampards and people like, maybe can you even call Lampard a natural 10 throughout his career? I don't know, but you've got, you know, the clear elite ones, and I think he's maybe just behind them. Like, you look at the numbers that he pulled out for his career. Let me just get them up. Like, in his third season for us, when he really started to click. Well, second season he got 10 goals, but I'm talking about the assists, like 14, 15, 10, 12.
Yeah, I mean, it's this machine.
We need Maddison to pull these numbers.
Yeah, completely. And I think he's capable of it. He just we just need to see more from him, Madders. But yeah, I agree. I don't agree that I wouldn't call him a world-class player, because I don't think he's world-class. I think he's a very good player. I think world-class is a bit of a stretch. I think he's got world-class talent, but I think we just need to see a bit more consistently. But I do think he's a very good player, and I think a lot of people saying he's having a bad season, all these things. Again, I've been consistent. I don't think that's true. I don't think he's been having a terrible season at all. I think he's been fairly good, but I think there are, obviously, when he goes missing, that gets highlighted a lot, I think.
Yeah. Blue Deer says, before preparing to take a penalty, Kuti only wore one shoe.
Where's his other shoe, Kuti? Hope he's not injured and not protecting it, but there he is on the sidelines. Ready to throw it at someone, maybe. Yeah. if it missed.
Yeah. TMZ says Fez, and that's Vicario. What is that? Is that goals prevented? Oh yeah, goals prevented. Vicario's at the top, 5.17.
I think that's a lot to do with just how good of a shot stopper he is. He makes some unbelievable saves from really high quality chances.
5.17.
He's top of the league, despite having played 15 games or whatever it is. 16 games?
That's
17
crazy.
Games? How many games has he played?
Vicario, don't know, probably about 15. Yeah, he's played 16.
16 games, and he's top.
So the other keepers that he's there, Henderson, Travers, Matt Sells, Edison. Yeah.
How is Neto so high?
It all came in probably one game.
That's mad. But I think Vicario, I think a lot of it was also in the first 14, but a lot of it, I think it's more of a case of what a great goalkeeper he is. I think because at the beginning of the season, we were actually quite low for shots against us, but he was still making like good quality saves.
Yeah.
So incredible. It's incredible to be that high with having played so much less than the other keepers.
Rocco says, was he good? No. Was he bad? No. I'm tired of you guys using him as a scapegoat and acting like he's been terrible every week. He's not our best player, and we can improve on him, but he's nowhere near as bad as you lot say he is, and he's far from our biggest issue. I'm done with Bissouma, man. I really am done with Bissouma. I'm sick and tired of seeing these sloppy passes that play us into trouble consistently.
But when we do our monthly ratings,
he's always in awful.
No, last few months he's been in good.
I don't think he has.
He has.
Wasn't he in awful last month?
Last month maybe, but I'm saying, but generally this season he's been quite high.
No, we literally went through this and we said 1 month in awful, 1 month in good, 1 month in awful, 1 month in good, 1 month in awful, 1 month in good.
I thought
we went through it.
I've got it. Don't I have it? I think last. Where is it? Let him get up because I don't think it's been that bad.
It is. It's
Overall.
1 month on, 1 month off. I'm telling you. I went through the last 3 or 4 months on the tier list.
All right, but I'm saying he's not terrible every week.
Oh, so what? He's terrible.
But we act like he is terrible every week.
No, we act like he's not good enough and not fit for purpose.
That's
Because
fair.
if you're awful every other month, then what are we doing here?
If you're more, we know we need that, but that's his point. Yes, he needs to move on and he's upgradable, but he's not as bad as everyone's saying. That's what he's saying.
He is bad as everyone's saying because he's having an awful month every other month. Awful is pretty bad, man. It's not like he's playing at a consistent level, even like an okay level. Some month is like good and some month is terrible.
He's averaging for us a 6.2 over the season.
6.2. Look, I agree in a sense that what he says that he's far from our biggest issue. He is far from our biggest issue, but it doesn't mean he's not an issue.
I think he gets scapegoated a lot.
You think that?
Yeah.
I don't think he does.
I think he does.
I think he gets credit when he has good performances and he gets slated when he has bad performances.
I thought he was unlucky to be taken off at half-time compared to Bentancur. I thought he was better than Bentancur yesterday.
I just think they were both terrible, really. Whether you think he was unlucky, better than Bentancur or not, you can't say that he didn't deserve to get taken off because he was terrible.
His touch, that's something that's just plagued him for.
Would you not be happy
forever.
to see him go in the summer?
Sell him. I don't mind. I think we need to sell him, to be honest. But everyone acts like he's just a terrible player.
But the reason is as well, like the player that we signed from Brighton, we thought we were getting one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. And he's been nothing close to one of the best midfielders in the Premier League.
No, it's true. But is it this club? He'll probably go somewhere and smash out.
Yeah, and I hope he does, but he needs to move on from here for himself and for our sake as well, because I just don't know. I don't know what's gone wrong here, but it's just not working out. Blue Deer says, thank you, Kepa. Yeah, Sonny going and saying something to Kepa after the game, saying, sorry to do you like that, mate.
Yeah, it was a foul. It was a foul. Come on, you know it, Kepa. You know it. He got done. Got done by Sonny.
Another one here with the players coming off the pitch.
They look quite content. Oh, Dragoshin.
Oh, Radu. Still
Nice
with
one.
the team. The moment Kuti-son is back. So Romero and Sonny with a nice little embrace after the game.
They missed each other. Good to have it back.
And look at this. This was Sonny after he scored. Straight away going to get the ball and take it back to the centre circle.
Exactly.
What does Declan Rice do when he scores an equaliser yesterday?
He's apparently they're not going for a title anymore. Apparently.
So Declan Rice, he scores an equaliser against Manchester United yesterday. He goes up to the Man U fans, shushes the fans, and goes and celebrates in front of them instead of grabbing the ball and trying to go for the win.
We care about more about getting into the top half than they care about getting in the title.
Pretty much, yeah. Blue Deer says, Mickey celebrating Sonny's goal. Lovely to see. And last one is Frankie Kiernan saying, Ben in the mud. What am I in the mud for this time?
I don't know. But he said you're in the mud.
Well, you must have liked it, because I don't think I liked it.
Of course I'm going to like it, obviously.
Oh, because he said Sim in the mud, and then you question mark, questioning that mudding, and he says,
Why? But what was the
mud.
original post?
Oh, Solanke being back in the match day squad, because I was saying because I said he looked injured.
You said you said he wasn't going to play until after the international break.
Yeah, I said there's a chance of it. Yeah.
No, you said you were confident.
I was confident. Yeah, I did say that, but I was very happy to be mudded on that occasion.
Very mudded.
Happy to be mudded. But yeah, that is it. That is how the internet did react to the game yesterday. And that is it from us today. I want to thank you all for joining us for this nearly 3 hours post-match Bournemouth stream. see you all again tomorrow. Hopefully we can organise a panel show for you guys. But like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
Come on, you
come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs.